Hello, and welcome. I'm so happy you're here. Tonight, we're going to take a gentle pause. A moment just for you. This is your time to let go of the day, release any tension, and allow your mind to soften. In a few moments, I'll share a cozy bedtime story designed to calm your thoughts and ease you into a peaceful night's rest. Imagine a warm, safe space where nothing is rushed, and every word is a step toward stillness. So, settle in, make yourself comfortable, and take a slow, deep breath. Let the worries of today drift far away as we begin this quiet journey together. When you're ready, let's start the story. The chill wakes you before the first light. Damp air seeps through the gaps in the wooden walls, settling on your skin like a thin film. Your blanket is coarse, stiff with old sweat and smoke from countless nights near the hearth, but it does little against the draft curling from the crooked window. The smell of last night's embers lingers, char and ash mixed with the sour tang of unwashed wool. Outside, the faint scrape of a wagon wheel reaches your ears, a lonely sound in the pre-dawn murk. You swing your legs from the narrow bed, feet meeting a plank floor cold enough to bite. Your boots wait at the door, stiff with dried mud from yesterday's road. You worked them over with tallow when you could, but the leather still cracks near the seams. Pulling them on is a fight. The laces, frayed and uneven, knot under your fingers with the resistance of worn hemp. You tug your coat across your shoulders, its weight more a shield than comfort. Thick wool, patched at the elbows, smelling faintly of damp sheep and last month's rain. Your breath mists as you step outside. The world lies gray, smeared with fog that clings to the rutted track leading out of town. A single lantern swings from a post near the inn's door, casting a halo that barely reaches the ground. In its glow, the mud gleams, black, thick, clinging. You know what waits. Another day of jolting wheels, sweating horses, and the steady gnaw of hunger in your belly. The bread in your satchel is hard enough to split a tooth, its crust scarred with cracks like parched earth. You wrap it in a rag anyway. There will be no fresh loaf on the road. The stagecoach squats at the edge of the yard, dark and hulking like a beast too long tethered. Its wooden frame is scarred from years of rain and stones, the paint dulled to a sullen brown. The wheels sink in the muck, spokes slick with grime. You smell it before you see it. The sour-sweet reek of horses standing in their own steam, 6 of them, ribs showing under patchy coats, their breath blooming white in the half-light. Harness chains clink softly as they shift, the sound sharp in the morning hush. A voice cuts the stillness, rough with sleep and tobacco. The driver stands by the front wheel, coat collar turned high against the chill. His hat slouches low, shadowing eyes that have seen too many roads. He jerks his thumb toward the coach. You climb aboard, ducking under the low doorframe, and the smell hits you. Damp wool, old leather, a sour undercurrent of bodies too long confined. Inside, the light is dim, filtering through grime-smeared glass. The seats, if you can call them that, are nothing more than narrow boards dressed in cracked leather. You wedge yourself between a woman bundled in shawls and a man whose boots reek of horse. Their faces are pale, drawn thin by early hours and harder miles. The door slams, and with a lurch that jerks your teeth together, the coach moves. Hooves clatter against the packed earth, then sink with a sucking squelch as the road gives way to mud. You feel it in your bones. The deep, uneven roll as wheels drop into ruts carved by weeks of rain. Your stomach jolts with every jarring dip. The woman beside you clutches a satchel to her chest, lips pinched white. The man mutters something under his breath, words lost to the clamor of chains and hooves. The morning stretches into a gray monotony. Trees blur past, skeletal in their winter bareness, their branches etched black against a pewter sky. Now and then, a farmhouse crouches by the roadside, walls weathered, windows blind with frost. Smoke seeps from chimneys in thin, reluctant threads. You think of the hearth you left behind, of its meager warmth, and the memory feels cruel. Your toes, cramped in stiff boots, begin to numb. The road worsens as the light lifts. Mud deepens, greedy and slick. Twice the coach lurches so hard you taste bile, your shoulder slamming against the woman's. Her eyes flash wide, but she says nothing, only tightens her grip on the satchel. The driver curses above, his voice raw against the morning hush, whip cracking like gunfire. The horses strain, hooves sucking free with wet, obscene sounds. Once, the whole coach tilts, and for a heartbeat, you think it will topple. Breath catches sharp in your throat. Then it rights itself with a groan of wood and iron, leaving you pressed hard against the seat, heart knocking like a fist on a locked door. Hours drag like lead. Hunger gnaws, but you dare not reach for the bread yet. You know what lies ahead. Miles of emptiness, where the only inn may stand shuttered or stripped bare. Thirst comes next, a slow burn in your throat. But the water in your flask tastes of tin and old river silt. You sip anyway, grimacing as it slides down like cold ash. By noon, the gray sky has thickened, heavy with unshed rain. The air smells of iron and earth, damp and raw. When the first drops fall, they are fat, cold, merciless. They patter on the roof, then drum in a steady tattoo that drowns the creak of wheels. Leaks appear like treacheries, thin rivulets snaking down the inside walls, spattering your knees, pooling on the floorboards. The woman mutters a prayer, voice thin as thread. The man beside her only snorts, his face as gray as the sky. Cold creeps in deep now, curling around your bones, turning your breath to mist. You pull the coat tighter, but the damp has found you, slick against your skin, seeping through seams. The road ahead stretches endless, swallowed by fog and rain, a ribbon of mud that twists toward a horizon you cannot see. Your muscles ache from bracing against each lurch. Your head throbs with the hollow beat of hunger and fatigue. And yet the coach rattles on, deeper into a world that feels stripped of color, of warmth, of mercy. Then, far ahead, a shadow moves. Slow, looming, massive. The driver calls out, voice ragged, whip snapping like a warning. The horses falter, steam rising from their backs in ghostly veils. You lean forward, squinting through the rain-smeared glass, and for a moment, you think you see a tree, fallen clean across the road, its trunk swollen dark with rain, roots torn and clawed like the hands of something desperate. Mud pools around it, deep and slick, glinting where the gray light catches. The driver curses again, his words a rasp that cuts through the hiss of rain. The coach shudders to a halt, wheels sinking half an inch deeper with a reluctant squelch. Hooves stamp restlessly, chains clinking with sharp, uneven rhythm. Steam rises thicker from the horses now, their flanks heaving, ribs slicked with grime and sweat. The door groans open. Cold air rushes in, raw and sharp, threading under your coat and into your lungs like a blade. The driver's shadow looms in the gap. Out, he says, his voice flat with fatigue. Roads blocked. You spill into the rain like a stone into water, your boots sinking almost to the ankle with the first step. Mud grips hard, cold and clinging, pulling at your heels with every movement. The rain finds your scalp, slides down your collar in thin, icy fingers. The woman in shawls follows, her skirts dragging in the muck, darkening like ink-soaked cloth. She mutters to herself, words swallowed by the storm. The man lumbers after her, his shoulders hunched, his hat pulled low. One by one, the others climb down, a line of hollow-eyed shapes dissolving into gray. The driver stomps through the slop, whip tucked under his arm, hat brim dripping. His boots sink deep, leaving pits that fill instantly with water. He circles the fallen tree, palms pressed to the slick bark. You watch as he tests its weight, leans into it, shoves until his coat strains and his breath grates. The tree doesn't budge. His jaw hardens. "Axes?" he calls, voice pitched against the rain. No one answers. Of course there are none. Who travels with steel this far east unless he means to clear land or bury someone in it? Your hands, stiff and raw, curl tighter in your sleeves. Hunger bites deeper now, sharp as the wind cutting through sodden wool. Your stomach knots hard, a coil of rope twisting, tighter with each breath. The bread in your satchel is more stone than loaf, but you'd trade its crust for a strip of smoked meat, a spoon of broth, anything warm enough to chase the ache in your gut. But there is nothing here but mud, wood, and the slow, relentless lash of rain. The driver spits into the muck and jerks his chin toward the ditch. We'll roll it. His voice is all gravel, no doubt, no patience. He slaps the trunk with his open palm, sending droplets flying. Shoulders to the bark. Move. You wade forward, because what else is there? The tree towers above you, its roots like a broken skeleton jutting from the mire. Bark slick under your palms, rain running down your sleeves, into the raw skin at your wrists. The wood smells of earth and rot, the musk of something old and uprooted. You lean in, muscles straining, boots sliding for purchase in the sucking mud. Others join, men with jaws set like iron. The woman hanging back, skirts plastered to her legs. The driver heaves with a growl, sinews corded in his neck, teeth gritted like nails biting wood. The first shove does nothing but jar your bones. The second groans, the trunk a finger's width. On the third, it rolls sudden and treacherous, water sluicing from its hollowed heart. A cheer breaks ragged and short, snatched away by wind. You shove again, harder, mud slapping up your legs, the rain blinding as it sheets from the gray above. The tree grudgingly shifts, inch by inch, until it slides off the rutted track with a sound like a sodden sigh, crashing into the ditch in a bloom of filthy water. You stand there, chest heaving, lungs drinking the sour air. Rain runs down your face, cold as melted lead. The driver mutters something sharp, but his voice barely reaches through the downpour. He climbs to the box, whip flicking as he urges the horses forward. The coach groans back into motion, wheels grinding against sodden earth, then biting deep as the team strains. You follow, dragging feet, heavy with mud, each step sucking like lips parting from skin. By the time you climb inside, the damp clings to your bones like a second hide. The air inside is rank with wet wool and sour breath, body steaming in the stale dark. You wedge into your place again, your coat dripping in slow, relentless threads. No one speaks. Rain hammers the roof with an iron drumbeat. The horses lurch forward, dragging you back into the gray churn of the road. Dusk steals in early, smearing the world with a murk that bleeds color from every shape. Your muscles throb with a dull ache that settles deep in the marrow. Hunger gnaws harder now, teeth sharp and merciless. You tear a strip from your bread at last, splintering the crust with a crack like dry bones. It tastes of dust and ash, but you chew anyway, forcing it down your throat with gulps of metallic water. The woman beside you shivers in silence, her shawl soaked through, her lips tinged blue. The man stares straight ahead, eyes flat as river stones, hat dripping steady at his knees. Night falls like a blade, sudden and merciless. The coach rattles on through blackness broken only by the lantern swinging from its frame, a sickly glow that licks the edges of wet glass. Wind moans low through the trees, carrying a smell of rot and standing water. Somewhere, far off, a wolf howls, a thin, desolate cry that threads the dark like a wire. The road narrows. You feel it more than see it. The tilt of the wheels, the sharp pitch as the track claws upward. The horses labor, hooves slipping, chains clinking with frantic rhythm. The driver shouts above, his words whipped to tatters by wind. Rain needles through the seams of the roof, stinging where it strikes bare skin. The coach jolts sudden, violent, a lurch that tears a cry from the woman's throat. You clutch the seat edge, nails biting worn leather, your heart thundering hollow against your ribs. For a moment, you think the world has tipped for good, that the wheels have lost the road, and there is only the plunge, the black void, the splinter of wood and bone. But the coach steadies. Breath leaks from your lungs like smoke. Outside, the wind rises, howling through the trees like something alive, something that waits. And the night stretches ahead, long and endless, the road vanishing into a dark that feels deeper than earth. The night deepens into something heavier than darkness, a weight that presses on your chest with every breath. The lantern swings above the coach door, its flame guttering in the damp, casting shapes that leap and crawl across the wet glass. Inside, the air is a living thing, close and stifling, reeking of sweat and horse and the sour tang of soaked wool. Your knees knock against the man opposite, his boots streaked with mud to the ankle, the leather swollen and raw like drowned hide. No one speaks. Even the shivering woman beside you has gone silent, lips pressed thin, eyes blank with exhaustion. The road climbs, a slow, grinding ascent that drags at the horses until their breath rasps like bellows. Chains strain, with a sound like breaking bones. Every few minutes comes the crack of the driver's whip, sharp as a pistol shot, followed by a curse torn to tatters by wind. You feel the incline through the pitch of the coach, the way your weight tilts backward with every lurch. Mud gives way to stone now and then, the wheels jarring hard enough to rattle your teeth. Then back to mud, deeper still, black and bottomless in the night. The cold is a creeping thief, sliding under your coat, settling in your marrow. Your boots squelch when you shift, soaked through despite the layers of wool. Water beads on your lashes, leaks down your temples, trickles along the raw edge of your collar. Your stomach is a hollow drum, clenched around the scrap of bread you forced down hours ago. You try not to think of it, the warmth of broth, the greasy comfort of meat. But hunger is a tyrant, ruthless and patient. It waits in the dark, sharpening its teeth on your bones. Then the coach lurches to a stop so sudden your shoulder slams the side wall. A jolt runs through the passengers, a ripple of startled breath and muttered curses. Outside, the rain hisses, wind worrying the trees until they groan like ships in a gale. You hear the driver climb down, boots sucking in mud, his voice calling low to the horses. The words don't carry, just the tone, raw and edged. Then another sound threads the storm, a hollow clap, sharp and brittle, like a branch snapping clean. Silence follows, taut as a drawn wire. You strain to see through the fogged glass, but the night is a wall, the lantern's glow smeared to a feeble smear against blackness. Shapes move out there, long twisting shapes that might be roots, might be something else. You catch the gleam of an eye. No, a droplet on bark, tricking your sight. The woman beside you clutches her shawl tight, her breath rasping shallow as if the dark itself presses on her lungs. The man shifts, mutters something that might be a prayer, though it's ground down to a whisper too low to catch. The door creaks open. Cold roars in, wet and wild, slapping your face with icy fingers. The driver stands there, hat brim dripping, coat plastered to his frame. His mouth moves, words ripped apart by the wind, but you catch enough. Tree, another, worse than before. His jaw is a hard line, eyes shadowed deep. He jerks his head, beckons with a hand slick and black with rain. You climb down because you must. The ground meets you like a trap. Mud sucking at your boots, dragging at your calves with every step. Rain needles your scalp, slides cold under your collar, trickles down your spine in shivering threads. The air tastes of iron and sodden earth. Ahead, the tree sprawls like a corpse across the road. Massive, gnarled, its limbs twisted like broken arms. Roots claw upward, black against the sickly glow of the lantern swinging from the driver's fist. Its bark glistens slick as oil, rainwater sluicing down its length in slow, gleaming rivers. The driver spits, the sound sharp against the storm. "No moving this one," he growls, voice like gravel ground under boots. He jerks a thumb to the ditch, a black maw yawning at the roadside. "We cut around. Half mile, maybe more." His gaze rakes the road ahead, a ribbon vanishing into the dark belly of the woods. No one argues. What's there to say? You shoulder your satchel, the weight pitiful and meager, and follow where he leads, off the rutted track, into the trees that crowd close like silent witnesses. The forest swallows you whole. The lantern's glow shrinks, flickers, claws at the dark like a dying ember. Branches whip your face, slick and stinging. Roots writhe underfoot, snaring your boots, tripping you into mud that sucks like quicksand. Every breath rasps in your throat, raw with cold and wet bark. Around you, the others stumble. Shapes hunched and hollow, dragging feet through the mire. The woman whimpers once, sharp as a snapped string, then clamps her mouth shut, teeth gritted white in the dark. The path, if you can call it that, narrows to nothing. A thread snaking between black trunks slick with rain. The driver forces through, shoulders hunched, whip coiled in his fist like a talon. You trail behind, mud clinging to your legs like chains, breath burning in your chest. Rain hammers the canopy, dripping in cold, steady knives through the leaves. Now and then, a branch groans overhead, a low, drawn-out creak that sounds too much like a voice. Time unravels. The dark thickens, folds close as cloth. Your muscles scream with each dragging step, your belly gnawing its own hollow. Hunger is no longer pain, but a fog, thick and choking, dulling your thoughts to a single pulse. Forward, forward, though your boots slip on roots slick as bone, though the wind claws your face raw, though every breath tastes of rot and rain. Then, sudden as a struck match, a glow flares ahead, a thread of gold woven through black. Lantern light. Another one, swinging low, throwing long skeletal shadows across the trees. A sound follows, hoarse, ragged, but human. A voice calling through the rain. Relief spears sharp and hot through your chest, so sudden it steals your breath. An inn, maybe. A place with walls, with fire, with bread thick enough to tear with your teeth. You quicken your pace, mud sucking hard at your heels, lungs clawing for air. The trees thin. Shapes loom. Posts, rough-hewn, lashed with rope. A gate yawns open, dark beyond the glow. And there, crouched in the lantern light, a building squats low and mean, its walls black in timber, its roof sagging under the weight of wet. Smoke curls thin from a crooked chimney, its smell threading the storm. Wood, pitch, and something else. Something that makes your gut clench hard. A stink rank and sweet, like meat left too long in the dark. The driver hails low, voice scraping through wind. The door creaks. A figure fills the gap. A man broad in the shoulders, beard matted, eyes like twin pits under the brim of a slouch hat. His gaze drags over you all, slow, measuring, cold as the rain running down your spine. Then his mouth stretches. Not a smile, Not truly. Just the bare show of teeth. Yellow in the lantern glow. Come in, he says, voice deep as a well and twice as dark. And the night behind you yawns wider, black as a grave, pressing you toward that crooked door with a hunger all its own. The threshold groans beneath your boots as you step inside. The air hits you heavy, warm but thick, laden with the smell that first caught your throat. Outside, meat, but not fresh. Something rich, almost sweet, curling foul at the edges like tallow gone rancid. Smoke hangs low in the room, a dim veil drifting from the hearth where a fire sulks among blackened logs. Its glow licks the walls, rough timber scarred with soot and old grease, casting long shadows that twitch and writhe with every gust that squeezes through the warped doorframe. The man who opened the door shuts it now, hard, as though sealing a pact. The wind dies to a muffled moan beyond the walls, leaving only the crackle of wet wood in the hearth and the slow drip of rain off your coat to puncture the silence. His boots thud against the boards as he moves past you, heavy as stones. Hang your wet things, he grunts, jerking his chin toward a crooked peg rail by the hearth. His voice is flat, the kind that slides over words like water over rock. You peel the coat from your shoulders, its weight doubled with rain, the wool clammy and cold as a drowned hide. Your fingers ache as you work the knots from the laces at your throat, skin puffed white and raw. One by one, the others do the same. Eyed, steam rising from their clothes in faint ghostly threads. The woman sags into a chair by the wall, her shawl hanging limp and sodden, her face a gray oval above its folds. The man with the mud-cracked boots lowers himself slow to a bench, his breath sawing out like a dull blade. Your eyes stray to the hearth. The flames are meager, licking low at a log that sweats more water than it gives heat. But the smell, thick, fatty, clinging, does not come from that fire. It drifts from the far corner where a table squats under a single tallow dip, its light casting greasy halos over the boards. On the table, a pot, black-bellied and crusted along the rim, steam coiling from its mouth in thin, pale ribbons. The scent spilling from it is stronger now, clawing deeper into your throat, sour and sweet all at once. Your stomach knots hard enough to steal your breath, torn between hunger's sharp pull and something colder, older, a prickle at the nape of your neck that whispers caution. The man, the host, if the word fits, crosses to that corner. His boots creak slow on the boards, his shoulders rolling under a shirt stained dark at the pits. A knife flashes in his fist as he pries the pot's lid. Steam bursts out, clouding his face, and for a heartbeat, you glimpse the hollows of his cheeks, the shine of sweat beading his brow. He dips a ladle, its bowl blackened and dented, and stirs with a sound thick and wet, like boots dragging through mire. You'll eat, he says, not a question. His eyes cut to you, dark and depthless under the brim's shadow. Long road makes empty bellies. The ladle lifts, dripping a rope of broth back into the pot, slow and viscous. Ain't much, but it fills. Behind you, the door groans as the driver shoulders it shut against the wind. His face glistens under a mat of wet hair, lips drawn tight as bowstring. He says nothing, only slaps his hat against his thigh and slings it on a peg, water spattering the boards like flecks of ink. His eyes flick to the table, linger there a breath too long before sliding away. You lower yourself to a bench because the legs won't hold you much longer. The wood is cold under you, the grain slick with years of grease and grime. Your hands tremble when you set them on your knees, mud flaking from your cuffs to speckle the floor. Around you, the others settle like sacks, silent, slack with fatigue, their eyes glazed and vacant as the fire's glow paints them in dull ochre. The pot thuds onto the table, sending a shiver through the boards. The smell billows thick now, curling into every seam of the room. Hunger roars in your gut like an open furnace. You tell yourself you don't care what floats in that broth. Root scraps, gristle, the heel of a boot, so long as it scalds the chill from your bones. The ladle dips and rises, thick with lumps that vanish quick into a dented tin bowl. One by one, bowls scrape across the table to waiting hands, their rims chipped, their insides etched with scars from years of scraping. When yours comes, it's heavy and hot, the steam coiling into your face, fogging your lashes. The broth is brown. No, not brown, but a shade deeper, murkier, with a slick that clings to the edges like oil. Something pale bobs under the surface, stringy, fibrous, riddled with threads like sinew. You don't ask. You lift the bowl, the heat scalding your fingers, and drink because the body takes what it's given when the marrow aches. The liquid sears your tongue, fills your throat with a taste sharp as iron, then rich and cloying, a sweetness that crawls up behind your teeth. You swallow hard, the knot in your throat tight as rope, and lower the bowl with a hand that shakes like a palsy. The man watches. His teeth show again in that knot smile, his eyes glimmering in the lamplight. He wipes the ladle slow on his sleeve, leaving a smear dark as old rust. "Better warm than wet," he says, voice low, almost kind, but hollow at the core. A log pops on the hearth, loud as a pistol crack. The woman flinches, clutching her shawl tight, her bowl trembling in her lap. The driver stares into his broth, like it holds some secret he can't spit out. Rain lashes the shutters in a steady, relentless tattoo. Beyond it, the wind moans low, long, rising, like the breath of something that waits just outside the walls. You raise the bowl again, slow, your gut snarling like a chained dog. And even as the broth scalds your lips, that whisper curls deeper in your skull. A prickle, a warning, cold as the rain sluicing down the night road you left behind. Somewhere in the dark beyond the hearth's frail glow, a door groans. Not the front door. This sound comes from deeper in the house, slow and dragging, like wood straining against a weight it doesn't want to bear. And then, footsteps, soft, bare, padding through the dark hall, each one landing like a drop of ice in your blood. The footsteps halt just beyond the reach of the hearth's glow, where the black of the hallway swallows the lamplight whole. The sound of the storm presses against the walls now, a muffled roar broken by the hiss of rain driving at the shutters, as if trying to force its way inside. No one moves. The only motion is the thin thread of steam writhing up from the bowls clutched in white-knuckled hands. You freeze, breath shallow, the broth still scalding your tongue though you've stopped mid-swallow. The taste clings, thick, metallic, with that faint sweetness that feels wrong, like a smile held too long. You lower the bowl slowly, listening. The steps come again. 1, 2, deliberate, unhurried, as though whoever walks knows there is no need to hurry. The boards creak under their weight, long moans that rise and fade like voices in pain. In the glow of the hearth, the others sit rigid, faces carved in wax. The woman's lips move around soundless words. The man beside her grips his bowl so tight, the tin groans. Even the driver, all leather and whipcord, sits hunched and still, his eyes fixed on the doorway like a hound scenting smoke. The figure appears without warning, as though drawn from the dark by some silent command. A boy, or what remains of one. Bare feet black with soot and something darker. A shirt hangs from his frame, like wet rags on a pole. Sleeves stiff with old stains. His hair clumps in greasy ropes about a face too thin. Cheekbones cutting like knives under skin stretched gray. Eyes black as pitch fix on you. empty as a burnt-out lamp. He says nothing, only stares. The host turns then, slow as grinding wheels. Back, he says, voice flat. Even. But you hear the edge under it, the rasp of iron on stone. The boy does not move. His mouth opens, closes, a sound like a thread drawn across bone leaking out. Half breath, half word, swallowed before birth. The man strides to him, big hands curling, and for a moment you think you'll hear the crack of palm on flesh. But he only grips the boy's arm, steering him hard toward the dark hall. The boy's head lolls as he goes, eyes sliding back to you, and something twists in your gut. Cold, sharp, gone before you can name it. The boards groan. The dark takes them both. Silence blooms thick in its wake, broken only by the spit of sap in the hearth and the storm clawing at the walls. When the man returns, his hands are empty. His face gives nothing, only that same hollow calm, lips stretched in a curve too straight to be called a smile. Eat, he says. The word drops heavy as a stone into water. You've miles yet. You stare at your bowl. The broth has cooled to a dull skin that shivers when you tilt it. Bits float, pale threads like unraveling cloth. A lump that might be gristle, might not. Hunger gnaws with teeth sharper now, crueler for the fear coiled in your belly. You force a mouthful down, thick as mud, and chase it with water that tastes of rust and rain. Around you, the others eat in silence, jaws working slow, eyes fixed low. The woman sips, lips trembling against the rim. The man chews hard, grinding like a millstone, his stare 1,000 miles away. The driver swallows last, his throat bobbing like a rope in a gale, then wipes his mouth with the back of his hand and stands. His boots thump once, sharp in the hush. Where's the loft? His voice scrapes rough, like bark torn from a tree. The host nods toward a ladder nailed to the far wall, its rungs shiny with years of hands and grease. Up there, dry straw. He drags a sleeve across his jaw, leaving a streak black as pitch. Better than the road. The driver grunts, shoulders his satchel, and starts up. The ladder groans under his weight. One by one, the others follow, moving like cattle to pen, too spent to question. You climb last. The rungs are slick, the wood worn thin at the centers, biting your palms. The loft yawns above, a low crawl under a sagging roof. The smell of rot and old hay thick as fog. Shadows pool deep in the corners, shadows that breathe with the wind worming through the warped shingles. You drop onto the straw. It crackles damp under your weight, prickling through your coat. The others huddle close, hollow shapes in the dark, their breath mingling in white streams that fade to nothing. Below, the fire sputters, its glow a smear of ochre on the boards. You hear the host moving, boots dragging, a low hum rasping like teeth on wood. Then the creak of a door. A click, soft but sharp, like a latch dropping home. The storm rages on, a beast battering at the walls. You curl in on yourself, chasing warmth in the rags of your coat, but cold threads through, thin and cruel. Hunger coils tighter, an ache so deep it feels part of the bone. You close your eyes, but sleep is a lie, a thing that slinks near then slips away. Because beneath the wind and rain, another sound whispers up through the boards, a sound too steady for the storm. Footsteps, slow, circling, stopping, turning, as if someone paces the dark below, wearing a path in the splintered floor. And then, soft as a breath at your ear, a laugh. Low, raw, almost broken. A sound that has nothing to do with mirth and everything to do with hunger of a kind no broth can fill. The boards creak. The steps start again, slower now, each one dragging like a dull blade. And you know, with a certainty that bites deep and cold as the wind clawing through the eaves, that morning is a thing far off, if it comes at all. The laugh dies into a hush so complete it swallows your breath. You lie still, every muscle drawn tight, the prickle of straw biting through your coat like needles of ice. The loft is black as a blindfold, broken only by a slit of orange where firelight leaks through the cracks in the floorboards. Shadows crawl across that slit when something moves below. Slow, gliding shapes that stretch and twitch like things alive. The pacing stops. Silence hums through the boards like a held note, so taut it rings in your bones. You wait for the creak, the next footfall, but nothing comes. Only the storm's muffled rage pressing against the roof, wind moaning through warped shingles. Rain drips steady in the corners, a slow tap that gnaws at your ears until each drop feels like a pulse against your skull. Someone shifts beside you. The straw rustles loud as a shout in the hush. The woman. Her breath rasps quick, shallow, like a bird in a snare. A hand gropes for yours in the dark. Cold, trembling, bones sharp as sticks under damp skin. You don't pull away because the warmth, thin as it is, anchors you. Her fingers cling, clutching hard enough to hurt, and you know she's heard it too. The laugh, the steps, the silence that feels heavier than sound. Below, the fire hisses, a log collapsing with a dull thud. The glow flares, painting the cracks with sudden gold, then fades to ember red. A smell seeps up through the boards as the smoke thickens. A reek under the wood smoke, clinging sour sweet. The same scent that coiled from the pot, only stronger now. Sharper, biting the back of your throat until bile stings. It worms into your nostrils, slick and heavy, and with it comes a thought. You shove down hard. A thought, with teeth. The boards creak. 1, 2. Slow, deliberate. Steps heading toward the ladder. Your breath knots in your chest. Fingers clutch yours tighter, digging deep. Around you, the others hold still as stones, only the soft rasp of straw betraying their wakefulness. The steps pause at the ladder's foot. Silence stretches thin, thinner, until it feels like the world holds its breath. Then a hand lands on the rung below, wood groaning under weight. You can't see it, but you feel it. The shift of air, the faint scrape as another rung takes strain. The ladder creaks again, higher now. The host, or what you pray is the host, is climbing. Slow, unhurried. Each step sinks like a nail driven into your spine. The woman's nails bite your skin. You squeeze back because there's nothing else to do, because every muscle screams to run but there's nowhere to go. Behind you, the wall looms, black, slick with the seep of rain. Ahead, the ladder yawns a slit of darker dark, and from it comes a breath. Low, thick, dragging like wind over wet stone. The shape rises into view. First, the brim of a hat, shadowing eyes that glimmer faintly red in the ember glow below. Then a hand grips the top rung, huge and knotted, veins standing like cords under skin pale as tallow. A blade flashes, no longer than a finger, curved, hooked at the tip, its edge black with shadow. Not a knife for cutting meat clean, but for tearing, for peeling slow. The host's mouth curls, not wide, not bright, but enough to bear teeth yellowed and sharp at the edges. His voice slides out low, smooth as oil, but cracked deep in the well of it. Cold up here. The words hang, damp and heavy, dripping malice like rain from eaves. His eyes move from face to face, slow, tasting the fear in the hush. They linger on the woman clutching your hand, then drop to you. A gleam like hunger flickers there, not the kind a bowl of broth could sate. A log pops below, flinging sparks that wink through the cracks like dying stars. In that brittle flare, you see what hangs from his belt. Not rope, not tool, but a strip of leather, worn smooth at the edges, looped at one end. A tether. For beasts. He climbs another rung, his boots whispering straw where they drag. The loft shudders under his weight, dust sifting down in lazy gray threads. Behind you, someone whimpers. A sound small, strangled. Strangled again by a hand clapped fast over lips. The blade tilts, catching ember light. A crescent grin that gleams cold and wet. His breath rolls out, thick with the same scent that clung to the broth, the pot, the walls, that cloying sweetness over iron's bitter tang. And in the yawning dark beyond him, something shifts. A shape sliding along the floor below, low and long. Its sound a whisper of flesh on wood. Then, sudden as a lash, the wind hammers the shutters, slamming them wide. Rain bursts in, wild and cold, flinging the room in a chaos of spray and shadows. The hat brim jerks as the host turns sharp, teeth bared in a snarl. In that flash of movement, you see the thing in the dark, a shape dragging a limp weight by the ankles, leaving a smear blacker than shadow across the boards. The host's head snaps back to you, eyes burning low and hungry. "Stay," he rasps, voice splitting like wet wood. "Stay warm." The latter groans as he drops back into the dark. Steps drag away, slow, steady, fading into the house's hollow belly. The shutters slam shut on the storm, leaving you in a silence deeper than before, broken only by the thin sob of the woman beside you, stifled hard against your sleeve. And then, far below, muffled by the boards, a sound blooms soft and wet. A sound like meat torn slow from bone. The smell thickens, clinging, choking, until the broth in your gut heaves bitter in your throat. You do not move. You do not speak. You lie rigid in the straw, the dark pressing close as breath, and count the minutes by the pulse hammering in your skull. But dawn feels like a lie. You don't sleep, none of you do. The hours stretch long and silent, punctured only by that sound. The slow, wet rip of something being pulled apart. It rises from the floor below, muffled by the boards but unmistakable, creeping into the marrow of your bones. Every tug drags a low grunt, guttural and strained, followed by the hollow clatter of metal on wood. The smell grows thicker, sour-sweet, cloying until it coats your tongue like grease. It clings to your hair, your coat, your very skin, until you feel steeped in it, steeped in the dark purpose working beneath your feet. Hunger churns with something fouler now, a sickness writhing in your gut. The broth you force down knots like a fist inside you, swelling until your throat tastes of bile. You lie still in the straw, breath shallow, eyes wide to the black, pressing close on every side. The woman's hand grips yours yet, bones sharp under skin slick with sweat. Every tremor in her fingers jumps to yours, a quiver running like a live wire through the hush. The others are shapes barely seen, hunched, rigid, breath rasping low. Now and then, straw whispers as someone shifts, slow and soundless, the movement of a creature caged. Time loses shape. The fire below sinks to embers, its glow a faint smear leaking through the cracks, painting thin lines of rust across the boards. Beyond, the storm gutters out, rain dwindling to a drip, wind moaning soft like a tired beast. But still the sound goes on, that steady, methodical tearing, slower now, almost tender. Paired with it comes another noise, softer yet, but enough to freeze the blood in your veins. A hum, low, wavering, carrying no tune you know. A hum that winds through the hollow dark like smoke from a green fire. At last, it stops. The silence that follows is worse, thicker, heavier, swollen with something waiting. You strain for the scrape of boots, the creak of the ladder, but hear only the hollow tick of your pulse pounding in your skull. Then, Sudden as a lash, a door groans below. Hinges wail like a soul in pain. Cold floods up through the cracks, riding on the stink of wet earth, and blood turns sweet. Steps, slow, dragging, heavier now, as though burdened. They cross the room in dull thuds, boards sagging under weight. Something bumps the floor, soft, sodden, like a sack too full. The steps fade toward the far wall, then stop. A grunt follows, strained, paired with the grind of wood on wood. A door yawns wider, then slams with a force that shakes the loft and rattles dust from the rafters. A bolt drops home with a sound like a shot. Then, nothing. The hush that settles feels alive, breathing with the shadows crouched in the corners. Even the fire seems cowed, its last glow sinking to a sullen red. Somewhere in that dark, the host waits, or sleeps, or stands listening, the hook blade glimmering in his fist like a thought half-formed. You do not speak. None of you do. Speech feels like a sin here, a thing that would wake what slumbers in the black beyond. So you lie rigid, muscles clenched, eyes grinding dry in their sockets as you watch the slow creep of pale through the warped shingles. The first thread of dawn, thin as a drawn wire. It comes grudging, crawling over the horizon with a gray light that seeps into the loft like cold water. The shapes around you sharpen, the gaunt hollow of the woman's face, her shawl crusted with dried mud, her eyes wide and raw as wounds. The driver crouches near the wall, whip coiled in his fist, jaw clenched like a trap. The others huddle close, pale ovals of faces floating in the gloom, every line etched with the same hollow dread that knots your gut. Below, the hush holds. No stir of boots, no rasp of breath, only the crackle of a coal giving up its last ghost. The smell lingers, heavy as a hand on your throat. The driver moves first. A twitch, then a rise, slow and silent as smoke. He pads to the ladder, bare steps careful on the boards. His head tilts, listening. No sound comes from the black belly of the room below. He looks back once, eyes like chips of flint in the pale wash of dawn, and jerks his chin. You follow because what else is there? The woman clutches your sleeve when you rise, her grip a plea without words. You ease her up her bones, bird light under the sodden shawl, and together you creep to the ladder. The rungs bite cold into your palms as you climb down into a hush thick as wool. The hearth gapes cold, its logs sunk to ash. Shadows hunch in the corners, long and lean, quivering with each breath you drag. The table squats by the far wall, the pot still there, its rim crusted black, a ladle slumped in its depths like a drowned limb. The smell clings fiercest here, riding the air like a stain. The door to the hall stands ajar. Beyond it, darkness pools deep, swallowing the pale that spills through the warped shutters. You see the marks now, smears on the floorboards, dark and glistening where the gray light licks. They trail from the table to the far wall, where a second door crouches low and mean, its bolt shot home. The stains vanish beneath its seam, thick as paint, sticky as tar. The driver grips the latch of the outer door. His knuckles show white as bone, veins standing like cords. For a breath, no one moves. Then he wrenches it wide, and cold knifes in, sharp and raw, flaying your lungs clean. The yard sprawls pale, under a sky the color of pewter. Mud yawns in black pools. Trees loom wet and skeletal, their branches clawing at the gray. The road runs on beyond the gate, a ribbon of ruts vanishing into the mist. Freedom gapes before you. And yet, from the dark behind the bolted door, a sound swells soft, slow. A scrape, long and low, like nails dragged over wood. Then another. Then, faint but clear, a voice, thin as smoke, winding through the hush. A whisper that brushes your spine with fingers cold as river stones. Don't. Leave. The woman's nails bite your arm. The driver hurls the door wide, boots slamming mud, his whip coiled like a serpent in his fist. You follow because you must, because dawn feels thin as glass behind you, and night is breaking its teeth to pour through. The others stumble after, shapes wreathed in gray, breath smoking in the raw air. The gate yawns, rope lashes slack. Beyond it, the road waits. A wound in the earth, black and endless, clawing through the trees. You run for it, boots tearing the mire, the whisper threading the wind behind you, low and laced with laughter now, soft and wet as the sound that stalked your sleep. And as you break onto the track, your eyes drag back once, only once, to the house crouched in the yard, its door yawning dark, its walls black and slick as something birthed from the mire. From its gut, a shape spills into the gray, broad, slow, dragging something limp that leaves a trail blacker than mud. The laughter swells, raw and ragged, riding the wind like smoke from a green fire. And the road stretches ahead, long and empty, leading deeper into a world that will never feel clean again. You do not stop running. The mud clutches at your boots, sucking and spitting with every desperate step. But you wrench free, lungs scalding as if you'd swallowed fire. The road pitches and dips, a ribbon of black churned to slop by rain, slick as entrails. Behind you, the house squats like a rotted tooth, its door gaping, its roof hunched low under the gray sky. Smoke no longer curls from the chimney. Instead, a thin thread of sound winds after you, soft, lilting, a hum that slithers through the raw morning air like steam from a poisoned pot. The driver leads, whip coiled tight in his fist, jaw clenched hard enough to crack teeth. His boots hammer the muck in a brutal rhythm, each step a vow, a curse, a prayer. Behind him, the others straggle, shapes staggering through the mire, their breaths ripping out in white, ragged plumes. The woman clings to your sleeve, her weight dragging at your arm with every lurch. Her shawl flaps in tatters, sodden and streaked black. Her hair a wild mat about a face gone gray as river clay. Her eyes burn, wide and glassy, but no words pass her lips. Only a whimper now and then, sharp as a snapped string, stifled quick like a sin. The road bends, trees close in, black ribs arching overhead, their branches slick with last night's rain. Water drips steady, pattering on your hood, worming cold down your collar. The light is thin, the color of bone, filtering through a sky the shade of old tin. Every sound claws at your ears, the clop of hooves far behind. Or is it ahead? The crack of twigs underfoot, the low, steady lap of water in the ditches choking the track. And under it all, that hum, fainter now, but there, threading through the wind like a memory that will not loosen its teeth. Hours drag like chains. Hunger gnaws again, sharper for the fear coiled in your gut, turning the broth in your belly to sour bile. Your limbs ache, raw with cold and strain, every muscle screaming for rest, for warmth, for a fire that does not stink of blood. But rest is a lie, and warmth a lure with teeth. You know it now. You feel it in the pit of your bones, in the whisper that slinks through the fog whenever you dare slow your pace. Stay warm. By noon, though the gray sky gives no clue of hour, the world feels emptied of life. No farmhouse hunches by the track. No curl of smoke stains the horizon. No bell tolls from any steeple drowned in the mist. Only trees, twisted and slick, crowding close as jailers. The mud grips harder now, black and bottomless, sucking at your boots until every step tears like a tooth from gum. Once, the driver stumbles, dropping to a knee with a curse flayed raw by wind. He rises slow, his whip hand trembling, his breath rasping like a saw biting green wood. The woman falters next. Her legs fold sudden as rotted sticks, pitching her into the muck. You wrench her up, her bones bird-light under the sodden shawl, her breath clawing like a hooked thing in her throat. Her eyes find yours, wild, white, ringed in red, and her lips crack on a whisper scraped dry. Don't let. The rest shreds in a cough that rattles like gravel in a tin. You drag her on because stopping feels like death wearing a face you've seen too close already. When the sound comes, it rips the air like a blade. A howl, long and hollow, rolling through the trees. Another answers, nearer, sharp and shrill as tearing silk. Wolves. The word strikes cold as sleet in your skull. You glance to the driver. His jaw knots, his eyes cut to the trees, whip tightening in his fist like a vein. The others bunch close, their breath quickening, their shapes hunching low as if the gray itself would shield them. The howls swell, weaving through the woods, a dirge in many throats. Then the silence drops. A hush, thick as wool, pressing on your ears till they ring. From it blooms a new sound, a crack, sharp as a snapped bone, from the track behind. Then another. Then, soft, slick, obscene, the drag of something heavy through wet leaves. You do not turn. Not yet. Not until the woman jerks in your grip, her head snapping back, a cry strangling in her throat. You follow her gaze, and your gut turns to ash. Far down the track, half swallowed by the fog, a shape shambles through the mire. Broad, stooped, dragging something limp in its fist. Mud slaps up its legs, black to the knee, its coat hanging in slick folds, heavy with rain and worse. The head lolls forward, hat brim dripping steady, hiding the eyes. But the mouth shows. A grin, raw and ragged, splitting a face pale as lard. From its free hand dangles a blade curved like a sickle, its edge black with clots that gleam where the gray light catches. Behind it, the fog stirs. More shapes bloom from the murk, dragging, crawling, their limbs wrong, their backs bent, their skin slick with a sheen that isn't rain. Some walk on 2 legs, some on 4, some on both in turns. Their mouths gape, slack, slick with strings of black that dangle and drip. And weaving through them all, the hum swells. A tune now, broken but coaxing, sweet as rot in a summer ditch. The driver doesn't speak. He runs, bursts forward like a lash, boots tearing mud, whip coiling in his fist. You follow, hauling the woman, lungs raking raw, legs pounding fire through the muck. The road pitches steep, climbs like the spine of a dying beast. Each step dragging you higher into a mist that clutches like a blind hand. Behind, the sound swells, the slap of feet, the drag of flesh, the hum blooming into words flayed down to breath. Stay. Warm. At the crest, the trees fall away sudden as a torn curtain, and the world yawns wide. A moor, raw and rolling under a sky split with iron light. Wind scythes across it, bitter, flaying your face with knives of cold. The track forks here, one branch veering toward a smear of black that might be trees, might be ruins. The other clawing on, vanishing into gray like a road that leads to nothing. The driver reels, chest heaving, eyes wild. His lips shape words the wind whips to shreds. Behind you, the woman sobs, raw, ragged, torn from the gut. The others stumble up, hollow shapes hunched and heaving. And then the sound crashes through the mist behind. Closer now, close enough to taste on the wind. The wet slap of feet, the grunt of breath, the blade's hooked tip kissing stone. The driver swings his whip, the crack splitting the moor like lightning. His eyes cut to you, black and blazing under a brow knotted like oak root. Choose! He roars, voice ragged, raw as the wind tearing the sky. One road leads into a throat of trees black as tar. the other into a gray void that might be bog, might be worse. Behind you, the hum swells, sweet and sharp, the words blooming full now, slick as blood on snow. Stay, warm, forever. And the choice hangs there, raw and bleeding, as the shapes burst from the fog, grins wide as graves, dragging the dark with them like a cloak that will smother every light the world ever knew. The wind claws at your face, sharp as flint shards, tearing the breath from your throat. Your eyes rake the moor, gray and endless under a sky choked with cloud. Two paths yawn before you. One, plunging into a throat of trees, black and slick, their crowns twisted like gallows arms. The other, crawling onward over the open waste. A ribbon of mire bleeding into fog so thick it swallows the world whole. Neither promises life. Both stink of death. Behind, the sound swells. The slap of boots on mud. The slick drag of something heavy. The rise and fall of breath too slow. Too even to belong to men who run. And threading through it all, sweet and low, comes the hum. That tune broken, but coaxing, curling through the wind like smoke from green fire. Its words bloom now, soft as rot under summer heat, rasped through teeth yellow and long. Stay warm. Stay. The driver's whip cracks like a pistol, the sound splitting the moor wide. His eyes blaze black, his jaw locked iron. Move! He spits, voice flayed raw by wind. But which way? His glare cuts left, then right, and for a heartbeat you see the truth in it. The fear crouched like a wolf behind his teeth. He does not know. The woman sags against you, her weight a stone dragging at your arm. Her shawl flaps in tatters, sodden and stiff. Her hair plastered in ropes about a face bloodless as milk. Her lips twitch, shaping words torn to threads. Not the trees. A cough sears her throat, spattering your sleeve black where the rain should rinse it clean. The others bunch close, hollow-eyed, chests heaving, their shapes blurred by the fog that creeps and coils like smoke with claws. One man points, his hand shaking as a birch twig in gale. Open ground! He rasps, voice scraping the air like rusted steel. Faster! They can't. He does not finish. The sound cuts him. A crack, sharp, obscene, splitting bone like green wood. His scream knifes the wind, then breaks to a wet gurgle. You spin, throat burning, and see him topple, his leg hooked high by something pale and long as an arm. The blade's edge glimmers, a crescent grin black with clots, before it jerks, dragging him backward into the fog. His nails rake the mire, tearing black grooves as his breath rips the sky. Then he is gone, swallowed by gray, his cry strangled to silence. The hum swells sweet and thick, a lullaby for beasts, twining through the mist like rot through cloth. Shapes bloom behind it, broad, hunched, crawling low, slick with a sheen that is not rain. Some scuttle on limbs bent backward. Some drag their bellies like things born of swamp. Their mouths gape wide, wet and pink. Strings of black drooling thick from teeth, long as nails. Eyes glint dull as river stones, set deep in hollows raw with red. And through their ranks strides the host, hat brim dripping steady, blade hooked and grinning in his fist. His breath blooming white in the cold as he hums the tune that stains the marrow of your bones. The driver does not wait. He bolts for the open moor, boots ripping mud, his whip lashing the air like a live thing. You haul the woman after him, her breath rasping harsh as a saw, her fingers clawing your sleeve. Behind, the others scatter, stumbling, skidding, their cries torn to ribbons by the gale. The moor opens under your feet, sodden, sucking, strewn with stones slick as bone. The wind scythes fierce, driving knives of sleet that flay your cheeks raw. The track narrows to nothing, vanishing under pools black as ink, their skins trembling with the kiss of the rain. You wade through, mud clutching at your boots like hands with broken nails. Water soaks your shins, your thighs, cold biting deep until your bones feel carved from ice. Behind, the chase spills roaring from the fog. Boots drum, claws scrape, breath gusts thick and wet. The hum rises to a chant now, words rasped ragged but clear, each syllable slick with hunger. Stay warm. Stay. Forever warm. You do not look back. Looking back would break you clean. You run, lungs raking fire, your heart pounding a dirge in your ribs. The woman stumbles, drops to a knee with a sob flayed raw. You wrench her up, her bones light as sticks under the sodden rags, and drag her on, her breath hitching like ropes dragged over stone. The moor heaves sudden underfoot, a bog yawning black, sucking greedy at the track. The driver veers sharp, his whip snapping, boots hammering stone. You follow, skidding hard, the woman's nails raking your sleeve as her feet flounder in the muck. A splash bursts behind, a weight sinking with a sound, obscene, followed by a shriek that spears the fog and snaps short as a snared neck. The chant swells, closer now, close enough to rasp against your ears like breath from a throat slit wide. Words throb through the wind, thick as blood through snow. Stay warm. Feed the fire. The land pitches sudden, climbing steep, stone jagged as teeth tearing from the mire. You claw upward, boots slipping, nails raking moss slick as grease. The woman sobs once, sharp as a crack in ice, but hauls herself after, her fingers clawed deep in the earth. The driver gains the crest, his silhouette black against a sky the color of old iron. Beyond him yawns a hollow, dark, raw, and deep, its floor lost in the gray. You crest the rise, breath grinding, legs quaking like timber split too thin. The hollow spreads below, its bowl rimmed with stones hunched like skulls, its heart veiled in mist that twists and coils, like smoke from a green fire. No road leads out. No track claws onward. The world ends here. A mouth gaping to swallow you whole. The driver wheels, whip lashing the gale, his eyes wide and white as moons in the gray. Back! He bellows, voice ripped ragged. Find another. The fog splits behind him, splits like flesh under a hook. From its gut bursts the host, broad, towering, blade glimmering black, his mouth yawning wide, in a grin that cuts his face clean in two. Behind him surge the shapes, crawling, leaping, limbs jerking like things dragged by strings. Their eyes blaze dull as coals drowned deep, their teeth long yellow dripping black ropes that writhe when they fall. The hum swells, breaking to laughter raw and wet, a sound like marrow sucked from bone. The host strides forward, blade tilting like a crescent moon slick with rot. His voice rides the wind, deep as a grave, sweet as syrup spilled on a shroud. Stay, warm, and the hollow yawns wide behind you, black and bottomless, waiting with a silence that feels like teeth. The hollow gapes behind you, black as the maw of something ancient, something patient, waiting through centuries for this hour. Mist writhes up from its gut like smoke torn from green fire, curling cold around your legs, slicking the stones with sweat that tastes of iron. The drop yawns sheer beyond the rim, its depth hidden under a veil of gray that seems to breathe, pulsing slow, as if the earth itself drags a lungful of air before a scream. The driver stands at the lip, his whip coiled tight in his fist, jaw knotted till the cords bulge like roots. Wind lashes his coat flat against his frame, rain slicking his hat brim till it gleams like wet bone. His breath rasps ragged in the hush before the storm behind it breaks. You see it in his eyes, the choice flaying him raw. Forward into the hollow's throat, or back into the teeth waiting in the mist. And then the teeth show. The host bursts from the fog like a blade jerked from flesh. Broad shoulders splitting the gray, hat brim dripping, coat swinging in dark folds heavy with wet and worse. His grin gashes his face clean through, teeth yellow and long, their edges sharp as hooks. In his fist the sickle blade gleams, curved like the moon drowned in blood. Behind him, the shapes boil from the murk, crawling, loping, writhing low on limbs bent wrong. Their skin slick with slime that strings black in the wind. Their mouths gape wide, slack, slick, ropes of rot drooling thick from teeth worn to razors. Their eyes burn dull as drowned embers, sunk deep in sockets raw and red. The chant rides their breath now, rasping in throats flayed hoarse, a rhythm that gnaws the marrow. Stay warm, stay warm, stay warm. The sound claws your skull, digs nails through bone, stirring the broth of last night till bile slicks your tongue. The woman clutches your sleeve, nails biting deep, her breath hitching sharp as a rope drawn tight. Her eyes bulge wide and white, the rims ringed raw and bleeding where tears cut salt through grime. Her lips rasp a word, dry as dust, cracked to shreds by the wind. No. The driver moves, not back, not toward the things blooming from the fog with laughter slick as spit. Forward. His boots slam the rim's edge, heels grinding grit that skitters into the gray yawning below. His whip lashes once, snapping sharp as bone, a crack that splits the roar like lightning. His eyes cut to you, black and blazing, and his mouth shapes words ripped bare. Jump! The wind swallows it, but you hear. You hear because the world narrows to that single word, hammered raw on the anvil of his tongue. The woman hears too. Her sob cracks sharp, a string snapping under strain. Behind, the chant swells, thick and wet, the hum twisting sweet as syrup on a shroud. The host strides closer, blade tilting like a question sharpened to a point. His voice rides the gale, deep as a grave, dripping sugar thick with rot. Stay warm. Forever. The woman claws at you, her bones bird-light, her breath rasping thin as a wick's last flame. Behind her, the first of the shapes scuttle close, their limbs jerking like marionettes drunk on blood. One drops low, its mouth yawning wide, black rope slicking the stones where its tongue drags like a leech. Its nails rake sparks from the rock as it lunges, teeth gnashing, the chant bursting raw from its throat. Stay! You jump. The world tears out from under your feet, the wind screaming high, flaying your coat, clawing your ears till they bleed with its shriek. The gray swallows you whole, cold, slicking your skin, smoke choking your eyes blind. You fall through mist thick as wool, through silence that feels like teeth closing soft, slow, hungry. For a breath, or 100, you hang, weightless as a soul flayed from bone. Then, the world slams back, hard and wet, a shock that rips the breath clean from your chest. Black water swallows you, cold knifes your flesh, bites marrow deep, drags nails of frost through your gut. You thrash, blind, lungs burning raw, your coat a sodden shroud dragging you down. Fingers claw the dark, rake nothing, grip nothing. Your scream drowns in a froth of mud and blood and something slicker, sweeter, that worms through your teeth like oil. Then, a hand. Fist locking your collar, wrenching you up. The gray splits, vomits you gasping into light thin as bone. The driver's face looms, pale and raw, eyes black with fire, mouth a snarl flayed wide. His arm hauls you to a ledge slick with moss, stone biting your belly like teeth as you sprawl coughing, retching black water till bile scorches your throat. The woman lies beside you, coughing blood thin as wine, her shawl plastered to her ribs like a second skin. Her eyes roll white, her breath a rasp no thicker than a thread. The others, 2, maybe 3, crawl from the gray like wraiths drowned and dragged up by hooks. One does not move. The driver does not look. His eyes cut back to the mist yawning over the rim. It seethes now, boiling slow, swelling like a lung fat with breath. Shapes writhe in its gut. Long, lean, slick as eels. Their mouths yawning wide to spill the chant that smears the wind like grease. Stay warm, stay warm, stay warm. And rising through them, towering tall as gallows, strides the host. His hat drips black, his coat swinging heavy, his grin a wound carved from the world. The blade tilts, dripping ropes that steam in the gray, and his voice bellows low, rolling through the hollow like thunder from a pit. No cold where I'll keep you. The driver grips your arm, nails grinding deep, his breath a snarl flayed to bone. Run. And the hollow behind swells like a throat about to sing. The mist belching shapes slick and grinning, the stones rattling under boots that do not stumble. Do not hurry, because what hunts you knows the road ahead ends in its jaws. The moor rolls on, raw and endless, under a sky splitting with a light pale as sweet, dead as bone. Wind scythes, rain spits, mud clutches. And somewhere in the gray behind, laughter blooms again. Low, wet, thick with promise, curling through the gale like smoke from a green fire. You run because the word still rings in your skull, hammered raw by the driver's tongue because stopping means jaws closing on your spine. Your boots rip mud from the moor, each step tearing a hole in earth soft as old flesh. Water spits in your eyes, lashes your lips with knives of cold. Your lungs burn like coals, tamped deep in ash. Your throat flayed raw by breath, clawed through teeth clenched hard enough to crack. The ground pitches and rolls, a sea of black mire streaked with veins of stone slick as marrow. Wind sighs the moor in long moaning sweeps, bending the sedge flat, flinging sleet sharp as shards. The mist claws low, coiling in gray ropes that clutch your knees and twist cold fingers through your rags. Ahead, the driver hews a path, his coat snapping in tatters, his boots hammering a rhythm that beats like war drums in your skull. Behind, the others straggle, shapes hunched, stumbling, wreathed in rags and breath white as smoke. The woman clings to you yet, her shawl streaming black ropes, her breath rasping harsh and hollow, each step a sob wrenched from her marrow. And behind all, the sound rides the wind like a lash. Not words now, not the chant that rasped like bone dragged over stone. Laughter, low at first, a chuckle wet and thick, bubbling like fat in a pot. Then swelling, splitting the gray in gouts of mirth, raw as meat. Laughter gored from a throat fat with blood. It rolls across the moor, chasing your spine, lapping your heels like a tide that tastes of iron. The woman hears. You feel it in the jerk of her hand clutching yours, the rattle of breath bursting raw through her teeth. She sobs, a thin, strangled sound snatched quick by the wind. You wrench her on, your muscles screaming like ropes on a rack, your guts twisting knots tight as hanged men's throats. The land heaves sudden underfoot, a swell of black bog choked with reeds slick as eels. Water sprawls wide, a mirror dark as tar, its skin trembling under the spit of sleet. The driver does not halt. He plunges knee-deep, boots wrenching from muck with sucks loud as lips torn from flesh. You follow because the wind behind stinks sweet now, thick with a smell that crawls through your teeth like syrup poured on rot. The woman falters. Her knees buckle, pitching her forward into water black as a priest's heart. You lunge, fists locking her rags, hauling her free with a wrench that tears sinews raw. She coughs, retches, vomits a rope of slime that steams pale in the gray, then sags against you. Bones, light as twigs sodden in ditch water. Her lips rasp a word, frayed thin as a thread. Cold. You drag her on. The bog spits you up at last on a spit of land raw with stone, its flanks scabbed with lichen, the color of grave moss. The driver crouches low, whip in fist, his eyes raking the mist boiling behind. His breath saws ragged in the hush that blooms sudden as a blade drawn clean. For a heartbeat. 1, 2. The world holds still. The moor sprawls naked under a sky-flayed gray, the wind slashing its long knives, the sleet needling bone. Behind, the fog rolls fat and slow, clotting in the hollow where you leapt death. Its gut writhes now, bulging with shapes slick and grinning, their limbs jerking like strings dragged by fists unseen. And through their ranks strides the host, broad, towering, blade curved, and dripping ropes, black as a hag's spit. His hat slouches low, brim dripping, his grin a gash cut to the hinge, teeth long as tines gone yellow with age and rot. His eyes burn dull, coals drowned deep in pits, black as a well. His voice booms sudden, rolling across the waste like a bell cracked in a tower of bone. Cold kills, I keep you warm. The chant swells behind him, thick as smoke in a thatch fire, spilling from throats flayed hoarse. Stay warm, stay warm, stay warm. It pounds your skull, splits your marrow, beats in your blood till your knees sag, till the moor reels and heaves like a Deccan gale. You stagger, clutching the woman close, her ribs grinding under your grip, her breath shredding in your ear. She whispers still, the word rasping raw as a wick guttering in tallow. Cold, cold, cold. The driver snarls, a sound flayed from iron, and bolts. Up the rise that rears sudden from the moor, stone jutting like ribs through a shroud. You follow because the legs move though the soul screams stop, because the mind splits and spills reason like blood, because the word still rings. Run. And there is nothing else. The rise claws at your boots, stone slick with sleet, lichen smeared like gangrene over its face. Your nails rake rock, peel skin, bleed black ropes that vanish in the rain. The woman sobs once, sharp as a bird's neck snapped clean, but you drag her up, bones grinding light as reeds in flood. The crest bursts sudden, flinging the world wide. Beyond sprawls ruin, stone gutted and black, ribs of walls raking a sky the color of lead, arches yawning blind as sockets sucked hollow by worms. A chapel maybe, once. Its spire snapped and rotted, its nave gaping dark, its bell long fled to some pit where bells toll no more. Wind scythes through its husk, driving sleet like nails through the seams of your skin. The driver bolts for its maw, whip slashing the air like a vein, boots ringing stone loud as iron on anvils. You reel after, hauling the woman whose breath frays to a thread no thicker than hope. The others drag in your wake, shapes blurred, faces slashed white by the gale, eyes black as sockets sucked dry of sight. The nave swallows you in dark rank with rot, roof ribs jutting like bones through a shroud of fog. Shadows crouch in the corners, thick as tallow smoke, their breath cold as grave ice sliding down your neck. The wind moans through the lancets, thin and long, a sound like souls flayed on wire. Your breath goes pale in the gloom, mingling with the steam that worms from your rags. The driver slams the door, its hinges shriek raw as pigs in slaughter, its oak shuddering like bone under the crack of his fist. A bolt grinds home with a groan that splits your teeth. Silence swells thick, fat as a clot, broken only by the hiss of sleet-flaying stone, the sob rasping thin from the woman's throat, the blood drumming in your skull. Then, soft, sweet, slick as honey dribbled on a shroud, it comes, sliding through the seams of the dark, coiling around your ears like worms through grave loam. Stay warm. Close now. Close as breath behind the bolt. And, from the black beyond the nave's blind eye, Something moves. Slow. Soft. Dragging long. Like nails raking the marrow of the earth. The sound crawls through the nave. Low. Soft. Slow. Not boots. Boots thud. Beat. Strike hard on stone. This sound drags. Nails. Or bone. Or both. It comes from the far end. Beyond the ribs of broken arches where the shadows clot thick and wet. The fog slinks in there too. Pale ropes coiling like breath from a jaw cracked wide. You freeze. Chest heaving. Every rasp of air a rasp against the hush that blooms fat as a clot. The woman sags in your arms. Bones slack as reeds drowned in black water. Her eyes roll white under lids quivering like moth wings, lips twitching round a whisper too thin for sound. Her skin chills through wool soaked black. Her breath a thread that frays, that knots, that wants to snap. The driver crouches by the door, bolt jammed home, whip in one fist, knife in the other. A sliver of steel dull as pewter but bright enough to spit back the pale light. His jaw knots, like timber warped in fire. Eyes burning flat black in sockets raw with red. Behind him, two shapes slump against the nave's ribs. Men maybe, or what's left. Their breath hisses low through teeth, clenched, hard. Their hands clawing, floor slick with moss and dust fat, with centuries of rot. The dragging stops. Hush yawns, wide as the hollow that near swallowed you whole. Then, a laugh. Soft at first, low as wind fingering the reeds of a dead fen. Then swelling, fat and wet, bubbling like fat in a pot, spilling through the dark in peals raw and red. It gorges the silence till the nave shakes with its mirth, till dust falls like ash from the ribs overhead, drifting pale through gloom thick as tallow smoke. The woman shudders in your grip, a sob cracking sharp as a spar in gale. Her fingers claw your sleeve, nails biting meat, grinding bone. You wrench her close, her breath rasping ragged in your ear, hot as fever, rank with the broth that rots yet in her gut. Her lips twitch, shaping a word, the same word that frayed before. Cold. The laugh chokes sudden, snaps to hush. From that hush comes a voice deep as the pit, slick as syrup poured on a shroud. I keep you warm. The words roll soft, thick, breaking in the hollows like waves fat with weed. They lick your ears with heat that feels like tongues of fire, but tastes of iron. You feel them crawl marrow deep, coiling like worms fat on grave loam. The woman stiffens, her breath seizing, her bones clenching like sticks in frost. Her nails dig deep now, tearing cloth, pricking blood hot through wool gone black. The driver spits, a fleck red with spit and blood, hissing sharp as sleet on stone. You'll keep not. He grates, voice flayed raw, teeth grinding steel like grit. He crouches low, whip coiled, knife raised, a beast ringed for the baiting. His eyes cut the dark, raking shadows thick as hog fat dripping in a cauldron's throat. And then the door quakes. Not once, not twice. A pound thick as ox hooves, slamming oak so hard the nave jerks on its ribs. The bolt screams, grinding in its seat, iron rasping wood that moans loud as bone under the rack. A second blow, then a third, splitting the hush like a thunder crack flayed raw by a gale. Behind the door the chant swells, fat with throats that tear the dark in gouts of sound. Stay warm, stay warm, stay warm. The oak bulges, warps, splits hairline seams that gape like lips under strain. Dust spurts pale in clouds, fat as breath from the nave's old lungs. The woman shrieks now, a sound shrill and thin, cracking like ice under weight too foul to bear. Her body jerks in your grip, bones writhing, breath clawing raw at your teeth. You clutch her tight, though the arms quake like wands in a witchfire gale, though the legs sag, though the gut knots with a fear that slits the soul, clean as a sickle. The driver roars, a sound ripped red from the pit. belling loud as iron split on anvils drowned in flame. He springs, whip slashing, knife spitting pale, jaws gored wide in a snarl, black as wrath. The others crawl from the gloom, limbs jerking stiff as sticks soaked in frost, eyes rolling white in holes red as worms. The door bursts. It bursts like bone under a butcher's cleaver, oak flying in shards, iron shrieking loud as souls torn on wire. The bolt spits sparks fat as blood, screaming off stone slick with rot. The wind vomits in, black fog belching thick as sweet smoke, stinking sweet as hog fat melting slow. Through it stride the shapes, long, lean, slick with ropes of black that steam like guts flung on fire. Their mouths gape wide, slopping red ropes fat as worms, teeth grinning yellow as old tusks split to pulp. Their eyes burn dull as embers drowned deep in slop blacker than pitch. And through their ranks comes the host, tall as the gallows, broad as wrath, hat brim dripping ropes of rain slicked red in the fog's fat folds. His grin slits his skull ear to ear, teeth long and wet, their roots dark as roots clawing rot from graves. His coat swings wide in the gale, belching stink thick as broth steeped in blood and bone. And in his fist gleams the sickle, curved like the moon-drowned black, its edge a grin dripping ropes slick as tallow tears. He halts in the knave's throat, breath smoking thick as a cauldron's fume, eyes hollow, jaws yawning round a word thick with heat. You ran. His laugh rips the dark, rolling fat as fire in the knave's ribs, tearing the air till the fog whirls like cloth wrung red. He tilts the blade, its grin catching the last white slit of day beyond the knave's blind eye, and croons, low, sweet, thick as honey clotted in hair. Cold kills quick, but I keep you warm. The chant swells, goring the darkened gulps of sound, pounding walls till the stones weep dust and the arches moan like ribs under racks. Shapes surge, slick and grinning, their limbs jerking like strings dragged by hands unseen, their mouths yawning wide to spill the stink thick as night sweat steeped in grave soil. The driver lunges. The whip cracks, splitting fog in threads black as worms. His knife spits white as teeth in fire, his snarl ripping raw as chains in racks. Behind him, the others bellow, their roars thin as wind yet sharp as knives drawn clean. You drag the woman back, her bones bird-light, her breath rasping threads thin as frost lace on glass. Her eyes roll white, her lips shaping words no thicker than breath. Words drowned in the roar as the host strides near, blade dripping ropes that steam where they fall. His voice booming fat as drums in pits deep as hell. Stay warm. And the dark bursts like a heart split under heel. Vomiting shapes that grin and hum and croon sweet as death poured slow in a cup of bone. The nave shakes. The wind howls. The stone ribs groan like trees split under ice. And still the cold creeps. Creeps deep. Creeps in. The air inside the nave buckles as they surge. A tide of limbs twisted and slick, bodies jerking like meat hooked on wires. The smell hits first, rolling thick as fat smoke. Blood clotted sweet, marrow boiled slow, tallow sweating from bone. It gags your throat, slicks your tongue with iron and grease, makes the broth you choked down claw back up in bile hot and black. The driver hurls himself forward. His whip cracks, a white lash slicing fog, splitting one shape's jaw to ribbons that flop wet like a split fish belly. The thing only laughs with a sound like wind through teeth nailed on wire. It lunges, shoulders humping like a hog's, claws scything long as scythes, tips dripping black ropes that hiss where they strike stone. The driver meets it with the knife, steel sinking soft as bread and fat. A gout spurts, thick and steaming, splattering his coat in rope slick and stinking sweet. The thing shrieks, not pain, no, but joy raw as birth ripped in blood. It clamps his arm in jaws wide as a trap, teeth grinding till bone pops like ice under weight. He bellows, voice goring the dark, and rips free with a wrench that tears meat from the meat. His knife spits red arcs that steam pale. His whip flays fog and lashes white as lightning flaring through night drowned in pitch. Behind him, another lunges, low, crawling, limbs jerking stiff as rods. Its maw yawning wide to belch a stench rank with graves. It hooks his ankle. He pitches, knees cracking stone. A cry bursts, ragged, raw, choked sudden as teeth clamp his calf and drag. His nails rake floor black with slime, sparks spitting like stars drowned in grease. The others break then. They bolt, not roaring now, not flaying air with war cries raw, but sobbing sharp, thin, cracked like glass under frost. Their boots drumstone, pounding, for the blind slit that was once a window. Now a jagged mouth gaping night. Fog yawns through it, thick as tallow smoke, clutching like hands with nails honed thin. One man leaps. The mist gulps him, swallows him whole. No splash, no cry, just hush fat and final, like loam smacking shut on a coffin lid. Another claws the ribs, scrambling for light thin as thread. Hands seize him mid-lunge, hands long as roots, slick as worms. They drag him down slow, 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 till his scream flays air, till his nails rake sparks that spit out and die like stars strangled in mire. His face bursts white in a gape of moonlight as teeth split his throat, spurting arcs, fat as tallow, ropes. His scream chokes on blood black as pitch, boiling down to a gargle that hums sweet as a lullaby crooned through mud. You drag the woman back, her breath rasping threads, her bones bird-light yet heavy as doom in your arms. Her shawl clings in ropes slick with rot, her hair streaming black worms that lash your wrists as you clutch her close. Her eyes gape wide, ringed raw, rolling white as milk gone sour. Her lips twitch round words torn thin as frost lace. Don't let them. Her breath dies soft on your cheek, a thread fraying slow, and for a blink the world reels. A gray swell yawning wide, the knave's ribs melting to roots clawing grave deep. Then his shadow splits the fog. The host, tall as wrath, broad as gallows. His hat brim dripping ropes that steam in the knave's cold gut. His coat swings black, belching stink fat as hog fat boiled down for tallow. His grin rips his face ear to ear, teeth long and yellow, roots black as worms fat on rot. His eyes burn dull, coals drowned in slop, sunk in pits deep as graves. In his fist, the sickle crooks, a grin curved wet, its edge slick with ropes that steam where they drip. He strides slow, boots thudding like lids clapped on coffins fat with flesh. The stones quake under his tread, spitting dust pale as ashes coughed from old bone. He hums low, thick, sweet as syrup slopped on grave clay. The tune swells fat, bloated with rot, curling round the chant that still rings the air in gulps. Stay warm, stay warm. He halts. The sickle tilts, dripping a thread black, as pitch that falls slow, fat as a slug, to kiss the knave's ribs. Steam coils pale from the smear, curling like smoke from green fire. His voice rolls out then, soft, deep, fat with heat that reeks of loam. Cold kills quick. I keep you warm. I keep you forever. The words slick your spine like grease, sliding marrow deep, clenching bone and fists fat with frost. The woman jerks sudden in your arms. A twitch, a spasm tearing her thin as sticks. Her lips gape, eyes rolling white, throat raking a cry that splits to a gargle thick as slime. Her ribs heave, crack, belch ropes black that steam like breath from pits. Her jaw splits wide, wider, till the skin bursts in seams, till teeth grin long and thin as pins sprouting roots black with rot. You fling her from your grip like a brand flaying flesh. She hits stone slack as cloth, limbs jerking stiff as rods. Her head twists, jaw gaping in a grin that grinds, wide as a wound fat with worms. A laugh bubbles, soft, wet, thick as blood stirred in broth. She crawls slow, clawing stone with nails cracked to splinters, dragging ropes that smear black arcs, steaming pale. The host laughs low, a sound that splits the hush like marrow sucked from bone, like fat spat sizzling on flame. He steps. Another. Shadows belly fat from his boots, slopping the knave in black thick as slaw. His grin gapes wide, sickle grinning wider, edge slicking fog in threads that spit and steam. And then, sudden, sharp as a lash, the roof groans, ribs cracking, stone jaws yawning wide. Wind knifes through, raw, flaying flesh, hurling sleet in shards white as bones spit from graves. The arches moan, sag, spit dust in gouts fat as breath. The nave lurches. The floor gapes hairline seams that bleed black, slick, boiling steam pale as sweet smoke. From them crawls a stink rank as graves dredged in thaw. Hot, sweet, gagging thick in your throat. The host tilts his head. His grin cuts deeper. His voice purls low, slick with mirth thick as syrup on shroud. No cold down there. And the stones split wide, vomiting black fat as tar, belching heat raw as fire gored in pits. Shapes writhe in it, long, lean, blind, their skin slick, their mouths yawning wide to croon soft, sweet, slow, stay warm. The floor buckles, cracks yawning wide, coughing fog pale as grave lace, slopping ropes black as broth boiled down from bone. The air bellies thick, fat with stink that clogs the lungs, till the breath claws raw. The driver roars, a sound torn red, iron flayed raw, hurling himself at the host with whip screaming white, knife splitting fog in arcs fat with fire. And the nave bursts with light, not white, not clean, but red, thick as blood swilled from vats. The nave splits with light, not the pale mercy of dawn, but a gush raw and red, thick as blood belched from a cleft throat. It floods the ribs in a wash that slicks the stone, painting the arches in gouts fat as butcher's slop. The cracks gape wide now, vomiting heat that licks your face like tongues flayed in flame. Steam coils pale through fog thick as grave mist, writhing like worms boiled live. From below comes a roar, not a cry, not a howl, but a hymn gorged on marrow, crooned in gulps deep as pits. The host drinks it in, his grin rips wider, a wound torn clean through his skull. His sickle lifts, dripping ropes fat as worms, edge gleaming slick where the red light grinds. His coat belches stink thick as broth stewed down from bones and blood. He steps, slow, sure, boots thudding in the hymn's deep throb, shadows ballooning fat from his heels. The driver meets him head on. His whip screams, a lash white and hot as iron raked from flame. It cracks the fog to tatters, slashing arcs that spit sparks in air black with stink. His knife jabs, spits, a fang honed thin, darting for the hollow sunk in the host's breast. But the host only tilts, grin yawning like a cleft jaw, voice crooning low and thick as tallow clotting in cold. No cold where I'll keep you. The sickle arcs, a grin of steel slicing mist, splitting wind, hissing sweet as fat melting slow. It kisses the whip, leather parts soft as flesh. The lash slumps in a coil black as guts, smoking pale. The knife flashes up, a gleam in gray, but the sickle winks quick as a snake's lash, biting wrist to bone. The driver bellows raw, voice breaking like timber split green, blood belching black ropes that steam on stone. His knife clatters, ringing thin as frost on glass, and vanishes down a crack yawning fat with black. He staggers, falls, knees smacking stone, spit bursting red and hot. The host stoops slow, boots thudding like drums in graves, and fists a hank of hair from the driver's scalp. He wrenches him up, jaws yawning in a grin wide enough to spill the fog in threads. His teeth gleam dull as tusks in slop, his breath rolling sweet and rank as meat gone soft in broth. He croons close, voice thick with heat. Warm you yet? The sickle tilts. One stroke. Soft, sweet, slicing thin as breath. And the head pops clean, rolling like a ball hacked from bone. It thuds once, twice, arcs low, and vanishes in the crack. Gulped with a hiss fat as blood spit on fire. The body follows. A sack spilling ropes black as broth. Belched down to the hymn roaring thick below. The chant swells now, fat and loud, gorged on death like hogs slopping warm mash. It bellies through the nave, pounding your skull till the marrow thrums, till your guts knot like ropes in frost. Shapes writhe in the fog, leaping, loping, crawling low, their mouths yawning wide to croon words slick as syrup boiled from bones. Stay warm, stay warm, stay warm. You reel back, lungs clawing breath that scalds like steam from fat vats. The woman is gone. The rags you clutched lie slack, soaked black, steaming pale. A laugh lilts from the fog, soft, wet, thick with mirth gored on rot. It licks your ears with heat, coiling deep as worms, drilling bone. Your nails rake stone, splitting till blood spits black ropes that worm down cracks boiling white. You run, because the legs move though the soul shrieks, stay. Because the breath rasps raw, but still claws air, thick as grave smoke. You hurl through the nave's blind maw, ribs moaning loud, rain slashing in knives white and sharp as frost fangs. The door yawns gaping, oak split to splinters black as claws. Beyond it sprawls the moor, a waste drowned in gray, scummed with sleet, lashed by wind that screams long and low, like souls flayed on wire. The cold knifes you clean, flaying heat like skin. It bites marrow deep, grinding bone in jaws, iron hard. You stagger, reel, boots skidding slick on stones spattered black with ropes that steam pale. The fog slinks low, thick as fat, clinging your shins with claws honed slick. It hums still, soft, sweet, crooning through the howl, curling round your skull like chains steeped in grease. Words thread it now, spun thin but strong as wire. No cold in me, no frost in my fire. Behind, the nave bursts. Not stone, no, but sound. A roar raw as pits yawning wide, vomiting heat and him thick as blood. Red light belches high, painting the sky in arcs fat as gouts, lighting fog till it burns like wool in flame. Shadows leap long as gallows poles, jerking, writhing, clawing walls that split and sag like bones sucked dry. Shapes flood the door, crawling, loping, leaping on limbs bent wrong, their hides slick, their mouths yawning wide in grins that gape to ribs. Their eyes glow dull, drowned coals in holes raw with red. They pour like slop from vats, spewing fog in gulps fat as clot. And through them strides the host, towering, broad, brim dripping ropes, grin goring his face, sickle grinning wider, edge spitting steam where the red light grinds. He lifts it high, crooning low, voice fat with heat that reeks of rot. I keep you forever. The moor yawns ahead, raw and black, clawed by sleet, scarred by ruts, fat with slop. Wind lashes knives, sleet spits shards, cold knifes your gut till the breath bursts black in your throat. You run, because the road is no road. Only black, stretching blind. Only wind shrieking thin. Only gray swelling fat with fog. And behind rides laughter. Laughter slick and sweet, lapping your heels like a tide warm as blood slopped from vats. Laughter crooning thick as fat poured slow on fire. Stay warm. It blooms, fat and wide, goring the gale till the sky shakes, till the moor rolls, till your bones ring like bells drowned deep in muck. And still you run, because the cold is a lie, because warmth wears teeth, because dawn feels dead, and the world narrows to that hum curling slick through the fog, to that blade winking red in the hymn's fat light, to a voice purring low and sweet as rot. No cold, where I'll keep you. The moor heaves under your boots like something alive, slick, sucking, riddled with pools black as pitch. Wind scythes the waste, long knives driving sleet that flays your cheeks raw. Your breath bursts white, ragged, tearing from your throat like cloth ripped on nails. The cold clamps you hard, sinking iron teeth deep, gnawing bone to powder. But behind you, the roar swells, fat and thick, a hymn glutted on heat and blood. The ruined chapel belches red light in gouts, painting the fog like wool singed and smoking on the spit. From its ribs pours the pack, shapes long and lean, slick as swine fresh flayed, their hides glistening black where ropes of gore hang in loops fat as leeches. They crawl, they lope, they leap, limbs jerking like meat hooked on iron, mouths yawning wide to spew breath rank as broth steeped in bones. Their chant pounds the gale, thudding marrow deep in a rhythm that grinds the guts like millstones chewing grain. Stay warm, stay warm, stay warm. And through their tide wades the host, tall as gallows, broad as wrath, hat-brim dripping ropes that hiss when they strike frost. His grin rips ear to ear, teeth long as pins, roots black as worms fat on loam. His coat swings wide, belching stink thick as smoke boiled from tallow vats. The sickle grins in his fist, edge curving like a moon drowned red, slick with ropes that steam pale in the sleet. His voice bellows low, booming raw through the hymn's fat roar. Cold kills quick, my fire holds. You fling yourself forward, boots smacking ruts drowned in slop, knees grinding muck, black and raw. Behind, laughter blooms, appeal slick as fat spitting on flame, rolling through fog and gouts thick and wet. It curls round your skull like grease, slathering thought in syrup sweet as rot. Words hum through it now, thick and low, purring from throats grinning wide. No frost in the dark, no sleep in the fire. The moor rears sudden, a hump of stone clawed raw from the slough, its face slick with moss fat as lard. You scrabble up, nails raking slime, boots slipping till sparks spit white from grit. The wind scalds your cheeks with knives, belting your rags flat, driving sleet in gouts thick as teeth. You gain the crest, and the world yawns wide. Black spreads before you. A lake, still as glass drowned in pitch, its skin trembling under sleet that hisses like fat dripped on coals. No bank shows, no shore, only a sweep raw and blank under a sky gutted gray. Far off, how far you cannot tell, a smear of white claws the dark, a shape jagged as a tooth snap to the root. Ice, maybe. Stone, maybe. Hope, if hope wears any face in this waste. You reel down the slope, lungs raking air raw as lime, guts knotted till bile scalds your throat. The moor slops underfoot, sucking, spitting ropes of muck that clutch your shins like hands fat with slime. Behind, the hymn swells fat and loud, pounding the gale till the sky rings like a bell cracked in frost. The fog bellies wide, boiling black in gusts that writhe like worms fat with fire. Through it shapes leap and lope, their hides gleaming wet, their grins yawning wide, their nails raking sparks from stone. And through them strides the host, boots thudding drums that beat marrow to pulp, his sickle winking red in arcs fat with steam. You hit the shore, or what passes for shore, a tongue of grit scummed with ice slick as glass, rimmed by weeds black and stiff as nails. The lake yawns blind before you, black as the pit, steaming pale where sleet hisses like blood on fire. The cold belches off it in gouts thick and white, clutching your lungs with fists iron hard. You wade, because there is no road, no track, no gate but this. You wade till water gags your knees, till muck claws your boots, till cold grinds your marrow like stones in mills. Behind, the hymn breaks to laughter, peals fat and sweet, slobbering like jaws drunk on gore. The chant rides it still, crooning thick as syrup slopped on shrouds. Stay warm, forever. Shapes hit the shore in gouts of slop, their limbs jerking stiff as rods, their grins splitting to ribs slick with ropes that drip and steam. They plunge, claws raking water black, jaws yawning to belch gurgles thick as broth gone sour. Their eyes glow dull through fog fat with heat, pits smoking like lamps drowned in tallow. The host halts at the rim. His shadow sprawls long on ice slick as glass, split in shards by the red that grinds behind his grin. He tilts his head, brim dripping ropes fat as worms, voice crooning low and thick. You'll freeze in the black. Fire's near. He stoops, scoops a fist of slop, smears it slow on the sickle's grin. The steel hisses, spits steam white as bone dust flayed in flame. He hums as he comes, boots cracking ice, blade winking red through sleet-belting slant. You plunge deeper. Water bites like jaws wrought of iron, clamping your knees, your thighs, grinding bone to shards. Your breath rips raw in gouts thick with frost. Your heart pounding drums fat as the hymn still booming behind. The black yawns wide ahead, blind and slick, stretching to the tooth white in the gray's gut. A tooth jagged as hope nailed on a cross of ice. Your limbs seize. Your boots drag chains fat with muck. The cold chews deep, flaying heat till your veins spit sludge thick as lard. Your breath rasps smoke black and wet, spitting spit that clots and hangs like worms. Still you wade. Still the legs slog through slop that sucks like mouths gorged on marrow. Behind, the hymn pounds. The fog boils. The laughter blooms, raw and red, lapping the gale like a tide drunk on fat. The sickle hisses, splitting sleet in arcs that spit sparks pale as bone. The voice purls through it all, slick and low, sweet as honey slopped on rot. Cold kills. Fire holds. Fire loves. And the water yawns to your waist, black clutching like arms, fat with slime. Cold, grinding teeth in your marrow till thought frays to threads. The tooth white juts far yet, raw as bone ripped from muck, glimmering pale through gray thick as wool. And behind you, boots drum ice. Closer, closer. The hum swells, soft and low, slick as blood warming in hands. Stay. The water grips higher now, clutching your ribs like a vise of iron frozen in the forge. Each step tears a scream from your marrow. Your coat drags sodden, a shroud sucking at your limbs with hands slick as slime. The cold is no longer cold. It is weight, thick and black, grinding your bones to powder in its jaws. Breath comes raw, ragged, smoking white threads that knot and vanish in the gale. Behind, the hymn rolls fat and thick, a tide pounding the moor, swelling the gray with roars, bloated on heat and blood. Laughter belts through it, peeling raw, slobbering like jaws chewing marrow to broth. Fog boils wide, belching shapes that lope and leap, their hides glistening black under ropes that steam in sleet's lash. Their mouths yawn wide, grinning to the ribs, teeth long as pins, roots black as worms fat with rot. They croon as they come, voices slick with sugar steeped in slime. Stay warm, stay warm, stay warm. And through their ranks wades the host, tall as gallows, broad as wrath, boots pounding slop in drums that beat the hymn bone deep. His coat flares black, belching stink rank as broth steeped in blood and bone. His hat brim drips ropes, fat as worms, steaming white in the frost-gored wind. His grin rips his skull in halves, teeth yellow, edges wet, their roots streaked black like claws raked in loam. The sickle grins in his fist, edge winking red, where sleet hisses, fat as spit, on flame. His voice booms low, deep as pits choked in ash, slick with heat that reeks of rot. No frost where I keep you, only fire, only feast. You slog on. The lake yawns wide, a sheet black as tar, shuddering under sleet that needles white. Ahead, the tooth juts pale through gray, a shard gnawed from ice, a fang stabbed up from pits where cold breeds worms. It gleams dull, slicked with rime, a promise jagged as hope nailed to bone. Your legs seize, locked stiff as rods soaked in frost. Knees grind like millstones gnawing grit. The water gags your chest now, lapping your chin with tongues raw as slime. You wrench one breath, one gasp sharp as glass, and plunge forward, teeth clenching till sparks spit black in your skull. The cold chews deep, gnashing nerve to shreds, biting your guts till bile bursts, black through lips, cracked raw. Behind, boots drum ice. Closer now, closer, splitting sleet with clangs sharp as nails ripped from coffins fat with rot. The hum slinks low through wind's lash, slick as grease poured slow on shrouds. Words seep through, syrup thick, oozing sugar steeped in slime. Stay, stay warm, come home to fire. You wrench your head, lungs raking smoke black as night. The fog yawns behind, swelling fat with shapes that crawl and lunge, their grins gaping like wounds ripped wide. Eyes glint dull in holes raw with red, jaws drooling ropes thick as worms boiled in vats. They lap the black with tongues long and slick, slopping froth rank as fat and broth. And between them strides the host. His boots crack ice in shards white as teeth, his coat flaring like wings steeped in grease. The sickle arcs slow, curving wide, winking red where ropes drip thick, steaming pale in sleet's whip. His voice rolls low, humming through the hymn bloated on blood. You'll freeze in the black. Fire waits in my arms. You wrench forward. One stroke, another. Arms cleaving water thick as oil. Jaws snapping on, breath thin as threads. The tooth looms now, jagged, raw, its crown split with cracks that gape like mouths. You fling a hand, nails raking ice slick as tallow, biting till blood spits black ropes that worm down, cracks, steaming, pale. Your boots drag chains fat with muck. The lake claws, sucking deep, crooning low as jaws grinding bone. Stay. You haul, rip up. Spill on ice slick and slicker, belly smacking hard, ribs cracking under weight raw and red. Nails scrape, peel to pulp, spitting crescents white as frost. You claw higher, knees jerking, boots slipping. Your breath bursting gouts that clot and drop in lumps black as tar. The gale belts, driving sleet in shards sharp as teeth, splitting skin in wheels fat as worms. Behind, the black heaves. Water foams thick, belching shapes that hump and sprawl, their hides streaming ropes that hiss in frost. They clamber slow, sure, jaws gaping, eyes dull, their croons slopping through wind slick as fat. Stay warm, and the host mounts the ice. He looms raw against the gray, brim dripping ropes thick as blood, grin slitting skull to spine, teeth slick, roots black, long as pins honed on bone. His boots crack rime, splitting it in seams that spit steam white as breath. The sickle hums in his fist, a grin carved from steel, edge curving fat with clots, dripping ropes that writhe like worms in sleet. His voice lolls low, sweet as marrow melting slow in flame. Cold kills quick. My fire lasts. Forever. You reel up, legs buckling like rods warped in blaze. The tooth climbs steep, slick with rime fat as grease, split in scars that gape black to marrow. You claw, nails peeling to shreds, blood sluicing ropes that freeze in fans red as rust. The gale scythes hard, belting ice in shards white as teeth ripped from skulls. Below, boots drum rhyme. Closer, closer. The hum curls slick through wind's lash, crooning thick as syrup slopped on bone. Stay, stay. Your breath bursts black in threads. Your heart gnaws its cage like a rat in frost. Your limbs quake, stiff, stone thick, the cold grinding nerves to grit. Yet the tooth yawns higher, raw, jagged, its crown-goring sky gutted gray. And then the ice quakes. A moan rolls low, deep as pits belching heat, shuddering through bone, splitting cracks fat and wide. The tooth lurches, tilts, vomits gouts of black that spit steam white as tallow smoke. The lake roars, a mouth ripping wide, its hymn booming raw as bells tolled in bone. Stay warm! And the world gapes red beneath, yawning jaws that belch stink rank as broth boiled down from men. The ice bellies under you, buckling in groans deep as timber racks. Cracks rip wide, bleeding black ropes that steam white in the sleet's lash. The tooth quivers like a beast gored deep, shuddering to its roots as the lake roars. A mouth unhinged, gulping fog in gulps fat and wet. From its gut burst a light thick and red, boiling the black in tides that lap your boots with heat raw as tallow spat on flame. You claw higher, nails raking rime slick as fat, peeling crescents that spit white sparks in the gale. Your ribs grind, ice, splitting skin in arcs raw and red. Blood sluices ropes down scars that gape deep as jaws splitting to spit steam. Your breath rips black, clotting air rank as broth steeped in bone. Behind, the hymn swells, pounding the gale in throbs that shake the moor to pulp. The chant rides it, croons slick and low, words thick as syrup slopped on grave clay. Stay warm, stay warm, stay warm. Shapes boil from the black, humps glistening wet, limbs jerking stiff as rods, mouths yawning wide to vomit gurgles fat as broth gone sour. Their nails rake rime, screeching sparks that hiss and die like stars strangled in slime. They clamber, lurching, jaws grinding songs that drip from throats flayed hoarse, their hum bloated on heat, gorged on death. And between them mounts the host, tall as wrath, broad as gallows, boots cracking rime in shards white as tusks. His coat flares black, belching smoke rank as vats boiling marrow down to lard. His hat brim drips ropes that writhe like worms fat on muck. His grin cleaves his skull raw, teeth long, slick, roots streaked black as roots sucked in grave loam. The sickle arcs in his fist, edge curving fat with clots, spitting steam where sleet hisses like spit in blaze. His voice rolls low, deep as pits belching fire, sweet as honey steeped in blood. No frost in my fire, no cold where I keep you. The words slink through the gale, slick as grease, clamping your skull and claws slick with heat. They crawl bone deep, burrowing soft, fat, warm, till your limbs slack, till your nails slacken on rime, till the thought of heat hums thick and low as a hymn in a nave drowned in tallow smoke. The ice quakes again, tilts, vomits steam white and wild, belching cracks that screech sharp as marrow sucked through reed. The tooth heaves sideways, slumping toward the black yawning wide, a maw gulping mist and swells fat as slop. Water boils below, roiling red where pits belch flame like lungs gorged with rot. The stink hits, rank as broth brewed from hog fat steeped in grave clay. It slaps your teeth, clags your tongue in grease thick as glue. You lurch, haul, rip nails raw through rime, wrenching your weight up an inch, then two, till the world drops. The tooth shears off in a scream sharp as ice clawed from bone. You spill, plunge, air tears thin and shrill, then slams to black grinding cold. Jaws clamping marrow in gulps fat as slime. The lake gorges you deep, belching cold that chews nerves to mush, gnashing guts till bile bursts black through lips flayed raw. You thrash, claw, rip at dark slick as grease, lungs bursting smoke thick and red. Threads coil round your shins, rope soft, fat, writhing slow, lapping your thighs with tongues cold as grave worms. They clench, tug, drag you down where the hymn throbs fat, deep, booming through water rank as broth gored from bone. You wrench, kick, rip nails to pulp, but the ropes hug close, slick, sweet, pulsing heat thick as sweet clots. A croon curls through the black, humming low in gulps sugar thick. No pain in the fire, no cold in my arms. The voice slops soft in your skull, smearing thought to tallow. It hums till breath frays, till sight melts in threads gray and red, till limbs slacken like rags in vats. The black yawns wide, splitting to a glow fat and raw, a glare that throbs like hearts pulped for broth. It licks your face with tongues wet and warm, slicking your eyes in grease thick as marrow melt. And from that glare looms the host. Not fog now, not shadow, but flesh steeped in heat raw as pits. His grin slashes white through red glare, teeth slick, jaws yawning wide to spill steam thick and sweet as hog blood boiled for mash. His coat flares like wings steeped in gore, belching fumes rank as grease spat on fire. His hand fists your throat, fat, hot, clamping bone till sparks spit black. The sickle hums low in his grip, edge winking red, dripping ropes that writhe in sleet hissing down like nails. His breath gorges your face, hot, rank, thick with sugar steeped in rot. His voice purls close, crooning soft as silk soaked in slime. See? Warm now. Warm forever. The hymn bellows deep, booming raw as bells tolled on ribs. Shapes writhe through the black, jaws yawning wide to belch gurgles fat as blood slopped from vats. They surge, they lap, they lunge, their limbs jerking stiff as rods, their grins splitting skulls to hinges raw and red. The glare blinds, the heat gorges, the stink clogs, till thought frays like cords boiled to mush. Your nails peel from bone, spitting arcs pale as frost, in pits red as wounds. Your lungs burst smoke thick and wet, frothing bile that ropes in threads black as slop. Your heart hammers drums drowned in grease, thudding slow, slower, till it slogs like sweel in vats. And through it booms his hymn, low and thick, sweet as marrow melting slow. No cold in me, no cold in my fire. The sickle tilts. One stroke will make it true. The sickle hovers, edge slick, curved like a smile, honed on bone. It drips ropes, black as pitch, steaming white where sleet hisses through cracks above. The heat belching from the pit gorges your face till skin peels in thought, till breath rasps thick like fat sucked through reed. His grip clamps your throat, fist swollen, raw, slick with gore, crushing rings like frost-split iron hoops. Your feet thrash blind in black, gouging nothing. Your nails raking grease that peels in threads, slick as worms. His grin yawns wide, splitting jaws to the hinge, teeth long and wet, their roots streaked black with muck dredged from graves drowned in thaw. Eyes burn dull, red drowned in black, sunk deep in holes raw and slick. His hat drips ropes thick as tallow cords, steaming white in the glare that throbs fat from below. His coat flares wide, belching stink rank as hog fat boiled down in pits. The hymn swells now, not crooned, not hummed, but roared in gulps that shake the pit's black lungs. Shapes writhe in glare red and raw, lashing limbs jerking like rods wired in fire. Their jaws yawn wide, vomiting froth that ropes in gouts thick as grease. They lap, they lunge, they croon words slick with rot. Stay warm, stay warm, stay. The sickle dips. It hums low, Keen, thin as frost shrilling on wire, licking your ear and whispers, fat with heat. Soft, quick, sweet as marrow melt. You wrench. One lurch. Nails peel pulp from his wrist, blood spitting arcs black and thick. He laughs, low, raw, rolling through the hymn like hogbellies slopped in vats. His grip grinds tighter, crushing pipes till breath bursts red, and ropes in threads, fat as worms. The black heaves sudden, belching heat raw as flame-flaying bone. Steam vomits in gouts white and rank, boiling the glare to a bloom, thick as sweet smoke. Cracks shriek through rime, ripping ice in shards white as tusks. The lake roars loud, bellowing pits deep, coughing slop thick as slough. Shapes flail, flounder, thrash blind in tides gorged on grease. Their grins split wider, jaws yawning till skulls shear in halves, vomiting hymns fat and red. You rip one knee. Slam, hard as stone belted raw with iron. His grip jolts, slack an inch, a breath, a thread. You wrench, twist, slip in grease slick as guts. Rip free, throat rasping, wind hissing knives in rings cracked raw. The sickle arcs, kissing dark, spitting sparks that hiss and die in scum. His roar bursts fat. A bellow, rolling pits, booming through fog and gulps sweet and wet. You fling, clutch rhyme. Claw up cracks that gape black, boiling breath rank as vats steeped in gore. Nails peel, spit white, blood sluicing ropes that freeze in fans red as rust. Boots drag sludge thick and cold, grinding marrow to mush. The glare throbs red, belching heat that gorges lungs till thought slops to broth. You heave, wrench, rip limbs raw through slime that slaps and hugs like loins fat with rot. Behind, he bellows low, voice slick with mirth slopped in grease. Nowhere to run, only fire, only feast. The sickle winks, red arcs slashing black, hissing pale where ice spit steam in threads. Boots drum rhyme, slow, sure, pounding hymns fat as hearts squeezed in vats. Shapes lurch close, jaws yawning, hums drooling thick like mash swilled through wire. Stay warm, stay warm. You lurch higher, hauling ribs raw on rime, heels clawing scars slick with slime. Wind belts white, flaying sleet in shards sharp as tusks, splitting skin till blood ropes black and freezes stiff. The tooth juts thin above, crown jagged goring sky gutted gray. You slap it, flat, raw, palms flayed pulp, and heave till lungs split flame, till sight bursts sparks black and white. You sprawl, spill, belly smacks ice raw and red, ribs cracking like ribs on racks. Breath bursts in gouts, fat as smoke, rasping threads thin as frost lace on glass. Nails hook rhyme, clutch hard, biting pulp to grit. Your skull rings, bells drowned in muck, tolling doom in throbs thick and low. Below the pit yawns black, throbbing red in gulps fat as hearts slopped in mash. The hymn booms louder, pounding bone in beats, thick as blood in vats. The host mounts rhyme, boots cracking seams that screech sharp as marrow sucked through reeds. His coat lashes black in gales lash, belching steam rank as grease spat on fire. His grin cleaves wide, jaws yawning round words thick with heat. No frost in my fire, no cold where I keep you. The sickle hums, a tune thin as frost shrilled on wire, sweet as fat dripping slow to blaze. It tilts, winks, licks sleet in arcs that spit sparks white as bone dust. You stagger, haul, rip limbs raw through rime that peels in plates fat as shrouds. The gale slashes knives white and wet, splitting breath to threads black and thick. Ahead yawns gray, wool fat and blind, scudding low, belching gusts that moan through teeth ice to tusks. No shore shows, no land, no road, only ice sprawling black and slick, cracking in hymns fat as drums. Behind, his boots drum slow, sure as doom, steady as bells tolled blind in frost. The chant slops soft through wind's whip, Crooning syrup thick, sweet as marrow melt. Stay, stay warm. And the world narrows to that hum curling slick in your skull, to that sickle winking red in arcs fat with steam, to that grin yawning wide in fog, boiling black with heat. One stroke will end the cold. One stroke will end the run. And the ice moans, long, low, deep as pits gulping fire, cracking seams that yawn like jaws fat for feast. The ice heaves beneath you like a beast writhing under chains. Cracks split and creep, threads black and wet, spitting steam that coils pale through the sleet's lash. Each groan rolls deep, booming raw as ribs splintered on racks. The wind belts knives, white, blind, biting to bone, driving needles of frost through rags soaked black with blood and mire. You crawl, clutch rhyme slick as tallow, nails peeling pulp, spitting crescents white as frost-burnt teeth. Your lungs rasp, smoke thick, and black. Breath, clawing ribs, till sparks spit sharp in your skull. The tooth behind shrinks to a scar in the gray's fat gut, belching steam red as wounds. Beyond yawns fog, blind, raw, endless. A sheet sprawled wide, blank as death steeped in frost. No road, no shore, no light, and yet the boots drum still. Slow, sure, beating hymns and throbs, thick as blood slopped in vats. They crack rhyme to shards white as tusks, spitting sparks that hiss and die in sleet. Their rhythm crawls your spine like worms fat on marrow, grinding pulse to its beat, pounding bone in song slick and low. The voice rides it, deep, sweet, purling thick as honey slopped on rot. No frost where I keep you, no dark in my fire. The words creep soft through the gale, sliding like grease down nerve and vein, coiling bone in heat that hums low and thick. They slop thought to broth, blur sight to threads fraying thin as frost lace split and thaw. You claw harder, rip nails raw through plates cracked wide, lurching limbs stone stiff, grinding marrow to grit. Behind, the hymn fattens. It rolls loud now, gulps booming raw through fog, hymns bloated on marrow melt. Shapes surge black through sleet's lash, long, lean, slick with ropes steaming white. Their jaws yawn wide, vomiting hums and froth thick as sweet mash, croons slopping syrup sweet from throats flayed hoarse. Claws rake rhyme in arcs that shriek sharp as wire whipped on stone. They lope, they lunge, they creep slow, low, sure as frost-chewing bone. And through them strides the host. His coat belches steam rank as hog fat bubbling in vats. His hat brim drips, ropes thick as worms, writhing black on rhyme cracked wide. His grin rips skull from ear to ear, teeth long as pins. Their roots streaked black as roots clawing grave muck. His eyes glow dull, drowned coals sunk in pits raw and red. The sickle hums in his fist, a tune thin as frost singing wire, sweet as marrow spitting on fire. Its edge winks red, slick with clots fat as leeches, spitting steam in arcs white and thin. He halts, lifts his chin, breath gushes thick, gouts fat and sweet, rank as tallow boiled to broth. His voice rolls low, blooming through sleet like smoke through ribs. You freeze slow, you burn quick. The hum swells, croons fat, syrup thick, dripping heat through the wind's lash. Stay warm, stay warm, stay warm. You wrench up, boots slapping rhyme split and slick, heels skidding, ribs grinding cracks that gape black and belch steam. The ice belly's sudden, sagging deep in moans long as bells drowned in slime. Plates shear off, slopping to the black in shards that hiss and vanish in froth red as broth. Spray lashes raw, biting like glass, slashing cheeks in arcs fat with frostburn. The gray yawns wide ahead, blind, raw, blank. Yet, your skull hums with one thought, one drum, one doom. Run. You fling limbs stiff as rods, joints gnashing grit, boots smacking rime till sparks spit white as tusks split in frost. Each stride jars spine to pulp, lashes ribs with knives honed thin on wind. Yet you slog. You heave. You gnaw air rank as grease till lungs burst smoke black and clotting. Behind, the boots drum closer, beats fat and sure, tolling hymns in strokes that split marrow to broth. The gale belts their clangs through fog, pounding pulse till your veins hum hymns thick and low. His breath rides it, purling sweet as mash steeped in blood, coiling ear in croons slick as slime. Nowhere to go, no fire but mine. The sickle hisses, arcs low, splits sleet in fans white and raw, licking rime with sparks that spit and hiss like marrow belched on blaze. Its tune slinks through the howl, thin, keen, sweet as marrow melt. The icebuck sudden, shuddering raw, spewing steam in gouts rank and red. A moan bellies deep, long, low, rumbling pits fat with flame. Cracks split wide, ripping seams like jaws yawning in grins fat for feast. Black gapes through, a lake churned to sludge, belching light red and thick, boiling heat in tongues that lick the gray to shreds. You lurch, leap, slam flat on plates slick as grease, ribs cracking in shocks that spit sparks white behind your eyes. Fingers hook scars, peel rime to pulp, nails spitting arcs that fan frost in fans sharp as pins. Your breath bursts black, choking threads of blood thick as mash. And the hymn booms, raw, louder now, gorged on doom, gulping fog and gulps fat as marrow melt. It drowns the wind, the sleet, the moans of ice ripped from bone. It thuds your skull in beats that jar teeth from roots, that grind thaw to broth thick and black. Shapes crawl close, crooning soft in tongues slick with heat. Their jaws drip ropes fat and sweet, steaming white in sleet's lash. The host strides near, boots cracking plates to shards sharp as tusks, his grin winking red, where light spits thick from the pit's black throat. He stoops, spreads arms fat as roots clawing muck. The sickle lifts, arcs wide, humming hymns thin as frost song fluted through wire. Its edge winks pale, curving smiles sweet as sweat drip. His voice purls low, blooming heat in threads slick as syrup slopped on shrouds. Come home to fire, sleep in the warm. And the world splits. The ice groans, long, raw, then rips in a shriek fat as pigs under cleavers. The black yawns wide, vomiting gouts red and thick, belching stench rank as loam steeped in blood. Steam lashes white, blind, boiling wind in gusts hot and wet. Shapes topple, thrash, flounder in broth-gulping limbs with slaps fat as slop. Their jaws yawn wide, gurgling hymns that bubble sweet in gulps. Stay, stay warm, and you fall, headlong, blind, gulped in glare raw as pits. Heat licks flesh and tongues fat with grease, slopping marrow down veins till bone steams white in broth. Breath bursts red in ropes thick as worms. The hymn blooms close, soft now, slick, sweet as lullaby crooned through loam. No frost in me, no cold in my fire. And his arms close round, fat, hot, clamping ribs like roots split with rot. The sickle hums near, keen thin, sweet as frost whispering death through wire. One stroke will end the cold, forever. The heat strikes first, raw, brutal, thick as blood boiled in vats. It gorges your lungs like smoke, clags your tongue in grease that tastes of tallow, steeped in grave slop. The black churns, no longer water, but broth, belching bubbles fat and red that burst in gouts spraying ropes of muck. Your body heaves in fits, limbs jerking like rods warped in fire. The cold that gnawed you hollow splits to pain hot and slick, crawling marrow-deep blistering bone in licks sharp as knives. You thrash, Hands claw sludge that hugs like flesh flayed fresh, slopping round your wrists in ropes warm and wet. Nails peel pulp from stone, scraping sparks white as teeth. You wrench, heave, kick, but the muck grips close, sucking shins and gulps thick as swill. Threads wrap thighs, soft, fat, writhing slow, pulsing heat in throb and hiss. They slither like worms bred and rot, their skin slick with grease that smears your knees, your ribs, your throat. The hymn throbs through it all, booming raw as drums belted deep in vaults. It bellies up from the pit's black gut, swelling and roars, fat with heat, croons slobbering thick like marrow drip. Stay warm, stay warm, stay. And the host rises, not waiting now, not clambering, but rearing straight from the broth, belching steam in plumes, white as tallow smoke. His coat clings slick, flaring wide in drips thick as grease. His grin splits jaws to the hinge, teeth long and wet, slicked black at roots fat with rot. Eyes glow dull, drowned coals smoldering red through lids sagging loose. His hat drips ropes that hiss when they slap heat, spitting spray sharp as spit in fire. The sickle hums low in his fist, keen thin, sweet as frost song strung on wire. Its edge curves smiles slick as syrup, winking pale and glares red and thick. He stoops, fists your hair in a grip fat and hot, jerks your skull high till bone grates loud in sockets raw. His breath gushes rank, rolling heat that reeks of marrow melt, of meat steeped long in broth. His voice purls close, slick, sweet, crooning low as fire humming in coals. Sleep in me. No frost, no dark, only warm. You rasp a gasp, thin, sharp, slicing lungs like shards. It sears down pipes cracked dry, belching bile black that ropes your chin. Nails claw slime, raking scars slick as shrouds, but grip slops, slacks, peels soft in threads that float like worms in muck. His laugh blooms raw, bubbling fat, slobbering heat that licks your face till skin weeps grease. The sickle dips. It hums high now, a whine thin as glass raked by frost, sweet as marrow whispering soft in pans. The edge skims your brow, kissing flesh in a lick sharp as sleet. Steam spits white, threads curling slow, syrup thick. His grip grinds bone, jerks your throat bare, pearls croons fat with heat. Quick now, sweet now, and then, light, not red, not fat. White, white as rime, white as dawn, flaying night. It splits the gray in a shaft thin as wire, stabbing straight through fog boiled black. It strikes the ice above, what's left, shards goring sky gutted raw. It spills in threads, in fans, in flames bright and blind, kissing sleet till it spits rainbows frail as frost lace on glass. The hymn falters, croons crack, stutter, fray like cords singed in blaze. Shapes writhe, thrash, flail limbs long and slick, jaws yawning wide to vomit gurgles sharp as pigs in racks. Their hums warp, wilt, shriek in keys thin and raw, shrilling through gale like frost splintering glass. The host reels back. His grin slacks, splits sideways, lips peeling in ropes red and black. Eyes glare wide, dull glow drowned in glare white and shrill. Steam bursts from seams in his coat, belching stench rank as mash burnt black in vats. His fist slacks a breath, a blink, a thread, and you wrench. You rip. Tear hair from scalp in tufts raw and wet. Peel free and slop, thick as sweet melt. You plunge, blind, breath shredded, ribs grinding ice jagged and sharp. Nails hook cracks, rip flesh to fans white with rime. The light strikes full now, blooming wide, boiling fog in sheets blind and searing. Its heat slashes raw, flaying muck from limbs like cloth ripped from bone. Shapes shriek, shapes split, spilling ropes fat and black that hiss on glare white as noon. They sprawl, writhe, lash tails slick with slime, belching hymns warped to wails thin as frost song cracked in fire. The host bellows roar fat as storms tearing vaults, booming raw through sleet's blind lash. He rears, boots drumming muck in shocks that spit gouts rank and red. His sickle arcs, wild, wide, hissing sparks, white as tusks. It splits the gale and fans sharp as glass, humming hymns thin and keen, cracked to shards and glare white and blind. And the icebuck sudden, belching mist thick as wool, spewing gouts black and raw. A maw gapes deep, a throat yawning wide, gulping slop in gulps, fat as gore. Heat vomits high, wringing steam in threads thick as ropes, spitting spray that hisses white on rime. You sprawl, slam flat, clutch shards slick as grease, nails spitting arcs bright as sparks. The light blinds, burns, beats bone in throbs loud as drums. Yet your skull hums one drum still. Run, because the hymn fattens again. Low now, thick, crooning sweet as marrow melt. No frost in me, no end in my fire. And his boots drum close, beats fat and sure, tolling doom in strokes raw and red. The sickle hums, the grin yawns wide. The light frays thin, and the world splits open. White above, red below, yawning jaws fat for feast. The white glare sears your eyes till they stream ropes that freeze on lashes stiff as pins. It eats fog, boiling gray in curls that slither like smoke wrung from wool. The light lashes the ice in sheets sharp as blades, flaying rime to splinters, white as bone shards. You sprawl flat, nails sunk deep in cracks slick as grease, breath rasping gouts that clot black on teeth. The wind bellows high, raw, thin, howling hymns through ribs of light that lance the gloom like pikes. But the hymn below does not die. It fattens still, slopping low, thick as syrup spilled on stone. It throbs through marrow, gorges veins till pulse pounds beat slick and slow. Stay warm, stay warm. Shapes writhe under glare that blisters hide to rags. They sprawl, flail limbs warped to rods, jaws yawning wide to vomit ropes black and steaming. Some split, skins peeling soft as dough, belching mash rank as rot. Their hums wilt to wails thin as frost song cracked on steel. They lash, they lunge, they croon in tongues fat with filth. No frost in fire, no frost. And then the host stands tall in light. The glare slams his coat, wringing steam thick as sweet smoke. His brim drips ropes that hiss and spit sparks white on shards. His grin gapes wide still, splitting skull to the hinge, though lips peel, seared raw in fans red as slop. His teeth glint wet, roots black as roots clawing muck. Eyes glare blind, coals drowned in blaze, yet burning deep through crusts white and cracked. The sickle hums in his fist, tune thin as frost wind on wire, shrilling high through gale, ripped raw. Its edge winks red still, slick with ropes fat and black, though glare slashes sparks from its grin in fans bright as noon. He bellows then, roar fat, booming raw, cracking sky in peals like vaults caved in. Light dies, fire holds. His boots pound rhyme, belting hymns in strokes thick as blood drummed in vats. Steam whips round his flanks and curls fat with stench, stinking sweet as hog fat burnt to ash. His voice slops low through roar and gale, crooning sugar slick. Come back, come home, burn sweet in me. You wrench, haul, rip limbs through shards sharp as glass, knees grinding grit in arcs that spit sparks white. Your nails peel pulp, blood sluicing ropes that freeze to lace red as rust. The light flays your face, searing cheeks in sheets that peel skin like rind. But you crawl, you claw, because the black behind still hums doom in croons thick as marrow melt. Cracks shriek under weight. Rhyme splits in threads that scrawl the ice like veins gorged and black. Heat belches up in gusts rank as broth, steaming fans white and wet. The light wavers, thins, frays, threads cracking like frost lace whipped in gale. Shadows creep back, lapping glare and tongue slick as grease. Shapes heave through steam, slick and grinning, their limbs jerking rods bent in racks. They croon soft now, low, sweet, slopping hymns, thick as swill. Stay, stay warm. Their jaws drip ropes fat as worms, steaming pale in glare, thin and raw. Nails rake rhyme in screeches sharp as steel scythed through bone. They creep slow, low, sure as frost crawling pains. The host strides fast. Boots split ice in shards spitting sparks. His coat lashes wind in flaps black and wide, belching steam rank as mash steeped in rot. The sickle arcs, winks, hums, a whine thin, sweet, sliding soft through roar like silk soaked in slime. His grin cleaves wide, lips slopped red, jaws yawning to croon fat with heat. Light dies, but I keep. The shaft above splinters sudden, threads snapping thin as hair. White, cracks in streaks sharp as spears, fraying sky to gray thick and blind. The beam gutters low, coughing glare in fans faint as frost spit on coals. Dark boils back in gouts black and wet, belching steam rank as marrow mash. The hymn fattens, roars raw, drowning gale in gulps thick as blood. And the icebucks, a moan rolls deep, booming raw through vaults of muck. Cracks gape wide, jaws yawning black, vomiting heat that lashes flesh in licks wet and sweet. Plates shear off in shards fat as planks, smacking broth in smacks that spit gouts red. Spray belts up, slapping wind in ropes raw as veins. You lurch, leap, slam belly on slab slick as grease, nails clawing scars that peel white sparks. The gale belts knives, flaying skin to pulp, but you heave. Heave till ribs crack loud as tusks split in frost. Behind, boots drum closer, beats fat and slow, tolling doom in hymns thick and raw. The sickle hums near, keen thin, licking wind in arcs bright as bone. His croon slops close, syrup sweet, dripping heat like fat spilt slow on blaze. No frost where I keep you, only warm. The slab tilts, lurches, rips from root, slides shrieking down a chute slick with slop. You sprawl, spin, flail blind through spray boiling red and white. Breath bursts black in ropes thick and sweet. Wind knives high, slicing ears and shrills thin as frost song cracked on steel. And then, drop. The world splits wide. You plunge headlong into glare red and thick. Heat gulping lungs and gouts rank as grease, slopping skin in licks sharp as scythes. The hymn booms raw, bursting sky in roars fat as vats belched on fire. Shapes whirl, lash, sprawl, jaws yawning to gurgle songs slick with slime. Stay, stay warm. And through glare's bloom looms his grin, wide, raw, white, slitting dark in arcs slick with clots. The sickle hums high, winks pale, tilts slow. One stroke now. One stroke ends frost. One stroke seals warm. The plunge punches breath from your chest like a fist. Heat gulps you whole, thick, wet, rank as grease. It slops round your limbs and swirls fat as hog mash, boiling marrow till bone hums pain sharp as wire. Your scream dies soft, drowned in broth black and sweet, bubbling past lips cracked raw. The stink crams your skull, grave loam steeped in blood, tallow steeped to slop, a tang that saws behind the eyes till thought melts like sweet on fire. You thrash. Nails rake nothing, only slime slick as lungs ripped fresh, only threads writhing soft, fat, lapping thighs and coils pulsing heat. They creep slow, sweet, hugging ribs with kisses rank as rot. They croon low, words syrup thick, slick as grease dripped through mesh. No frost, no pain, no end. The hymn booms deep, drowning bone in throbs loud as anvils belted raw. It fattens around your skull, pounding thought to mash, smearing sense in gouts red and sweet. Shapes writhe through glare. Long, lean, their hide slick, their grins yawning white in arcs split wide. They lunge, they lap, they croon in tongues thick as lard. Stay warm, stay warm. And, through their churn strides, the host. Tall as wrath, broad as gallows, his coat belching steam thick and black. His grin splits face to the hinge, jaws yawning in arcs fat with teeth long and slick. Roots black as worms claw his gums, gums red and raw as meat steeped in mash. His eyes glow dull, drowned coals smothered in fog, yet burning deep in wells thick as clots. The sickle hums thin in his fist, keen high, shrilling sweet as frost cracking wire. Its edge winks pale where glare licks sparks, spitting sleet in fans sharp as glass. He stoops, fists your nape and grip fat and hot, jerks skull from broth till neck grinds bone loud as tusks. Breath bursts black, vomit ropes red down chin. His laugh blooms low, croons soft as marrow melt, thick as honey poured on graves. See? Warm now, warm forever. The sickle tilts, licks glare in arcs bright as frost under noon. It hums, a tune thin as reed song, through swamp fog, sweet as fat spitting in fire. You feel it kiss air by a hair's breadth, feel steam hiss where its grin licks heat. Your gut knots and jerks raw and blind. Nails claw sludge in scrapes dull as bone sucked clean. You buck once, twice, but his grip clamps close, fat cords grinding pipes to pulp. He croons near, lips brushing ear and purr slick as syrup steeped in rot. Sleep now, no cold in me. The blade hums high, keen wine drilling skull, splitting scents in shrieks thin as glass. And then, boom, deep, dull, rolling raw through broth like vaults belching flame. Another, louder, cracks ripping dark and fans white and blind. Light lashes, sudden, shafts sharp as pikes, spearing glare red to shards bright as noon. Steam bursts in plumes thick and white, coughing heat in gouts that scald hide to lace. The hymn splits, croons warping high, wails thin as frost song whipped in gale. Shapes sprawl, thrash, flail limbs long and slick, jaws yawning wide to puke ropes black and boiling. The host reels back, his grip slacks, a thread, a breath, a blink, but you rip, you writhe, you tear from paws fat as roots, peel hide in strips slick as tallow shred. You plunge blind, kicking broth thick as slop, ribs grinding heat that chews nerves to gruel. Nails hook stone, scar slick, sharp, rip pulp in arcs spitting sparks white. You wrench, haul, heave lungs belching bile black as lye. Light gushes wide now, floods pits and fans white and raw, flaying fog to scraps thin as rags. It lashes ice in shards bright as stars, biting cracks through plates split to teeth. Wind rams deep, howling hymns through vaults torn blind. Sleet spits razors, hissing white in heat that gags in steam. The croons warp to shrieks, shapes reel, lashing tails slick with grease, splashing ropes that hiss in glare. Their grins crack, split to seams, spilling pulp in fans black and red. The host bellows loud, roar booming raw as towers torn in quake. His hat flies, whipped by gale to shreds flapping white. His hair lashes ropes slick and clotted, roots black as roots clawing muck. His grin gapes still, but lips peel, gums belching smoke rank as vats burnt dry. He lunges, boots drum broth in shocks fat as drums, sickle belting sparks in arcs keen and bright. His roar tears light, croons slick as slime whipped thin in shriek. Mine! Mine till sleep burns black! The beam spears his brow, white fang biting deep through bone. Steam bursts, gouts fat and shrill, vomiting sparks red as coals spat raw from forge. His roar cracks high, frays thin, splinters to squeal sharp as frost raked on glass. His arms thrash wide, Sickles spinning arcs blind as stars blown wild. Heat gushes black from seams in hide, vomiting ropes that hiss to mist. His grin slacks, sags, slough soft as fat whipped hot. His eyes boil, globes white frothing mush, drooling down cheeks in threads thick and wet. The hymn dies, croons choke to gulps thin and weak, wails fading low through steam-blown blind. Shapes sprawl limp, jaws yawning slack, limbs jerking soft like worms dredged dead. The broth slops low, laps ribs in licks thin as spit. The glare fattens, flooding dark till black frays, till fog splits to sky white and raw. You claw, haul, rip limbs raw on scars rasp dry. Nails spit shards white as frost, blood freezing ropes red as rust. Light lashes face in sheets blind and hot, burning thought to blaze. You lurch, leap, sprawl flat on plates slick and wide. Gulp air sharp as knives, hacking ropes black and red. Behind, silence, wide, blind, fat as frost. Then, thin, low, slick as breath through teeth split fine. Warm, it slinks soft from fog-boiled gray, slides close, clamps skull and claws, fat and sweet. And you run. Boots hammer plates crack to shards, wind belts knives white and raw. The beam swells, fans wide, slashing night in ribs bright and blind. Behind, the black hums still, a croon faint, thin, sliding soft as grease. Stay. Light drags you upward like hooks jerked through flesh. It burns across the ice in ribs white and raw, flaying fog in strips thin as rags, lashing shards bright as bone burst from vaults. The wind bellows high, shrill, blind, hurling sleet in knives honed sharp on frost. Your boots slam plates split to seams, cracking in shrieks that spit sparks white as tusks. Each step jars marrow to mush, grinding ribs till sparks bloom, black behind the eyes. You run because the legs still twitch, though nerve slops soft as mash. You run through lungs rasp ropes black and wet, hacking froth rank as broth steeped in rot. Nails clutch rime, rip shards, spit crescents white, on scars slick with grease. The light blinds, burns, batters thought to paste, but you cling to its glare because behind still hums the croon. Low now, thin, slipping soft as breath through mesh. Stay, stay warm. It rides the gale in winds keen as frost song shrilled on wire. It snakes bone deep, slick, with heat sweet as marrow drip. You wrench ears shut, clamp jaws till sparks spit bright, but it hums still, soft, sly, purring low and nerves peeled raw. The ice sprawls blind ahead, slabs split, lapped in frost lace, veined with cracks fat and black. Steam seeps slow through seams gaping wide, coughing stench rank as vats boiled dry. Light slants hard from vaults torn pale, stabbing fog in fans white as noon. It slops the waste in glare that sears snow to sheets slick as lard, boiling rime in curls that hiss and spit. You lurch over plates bucked high, teeter on edges sharp as cleavers honed in frost. Wind belts knives, raking flesh in welts raw and red. Blood ropes freeze to lace on rags, stiff as steel where sleet lashes fat. Your skull throbs, drums dull and deep, beating doom in strokes slick and slow. Thought slurs to threads. Legs jerk stiff, stone heavy, dragging chains thick as muck. Behind, moans roll low, deep, blooming raw through vaults black and wide. Cracks boom under boots pounding hymns and thuds fat as hearts slopped in mash. The croon fattens, slops thick, syrup sweet, gorged on heat drawn from pits. No frost in fire, no frost, no sleep but warm. Shapes lurch in glare thin and white, long, lean, hides scalded raw in streaks red and black. They crawl, they creep, they croon through maws drooling ropes fat with steam. Nails rake shards, screeching sparks sharp as frost snapping wire. Their eyes glow dim, pits drowned in fog, yet smoldering still. Coals fed on heat sucked from bone. And through them heaves the host. Not whole, now. Not proud. But hulking still. Coat flayed to shreds flapping black. Ribs belching gouts of steam. His grin sags, gums gored raw. Teeth clagged in ropes fat and red. Eyes boil white in wells sunk deep. Froth spilling threads thick as lard. His boots drum plates in clangs cracked and shrill. His hands clutch sickle. Edge bent. Blunt. Yet humming hymns keen and high. When sedinans as a frost. Song split in fire. His croon slops through roar. Low, slick, sweet as sweat drip. No cold where I keep you. Only warm. Only mine. The light slants thin now. Shafts shrunk to threads white and wan. They flicker through fog that bellies fat. Belching gusts rank as grease whipped on blaze. Heat oozes up through seams split wide. Steaming shards and curls that spit and hiss. The croon swells, fat and raw, gorged on dark that slops back thick as mash. Your boots drum blind through glare that frays to scraps. Cracks screech under heels. Plates lurch, tilt, yawning black in jaws wide and slick. Steam lashes face in licks rank and sweet, gagging throat and glue hot as broth. Breath bursts, ropes red and black, slopping chin in gouts thick as muck. Your limbs slack, slurred to slop, jerking soft in throbs slow as frost rot. And then, the beam bursts. High, wide, white ribs stabbing vaults till fog shrieks, splits in fans bright as noon. It flays dark to rags raw and thin, strips more to slabs blind and bare. Wind tears shrill through vaults cracked wide, whipping sleet in flails white and sharp. The croon chokes, gulps thick, bursts to wails thin and weak, shrilling high through gales boiling bright. Shapes sprawl limp in glare raw and white, hide sloughing ropes fat and black. Their jaws sag slack, drooling mash that spits, and hisses loud as grease on blaze. The host rears tall, a tower torn raw. His grin cracks, gums spitting sparks white as lye. His coat belches smoke in gouts black and rank, flapping flails steeped in slime. His roar booms raw, splitting sky and peels thick as vaults split clean. He lunges, boots cracking shards to fans bright as stars. The sickle hums thin, arcs wide, winking white in shafts shrilled high. But the light swells, bursts fat, flooding pits in glare that blinds, boiling fog in gouts bright as suns. It bites his brow, fangs white drilling bone, steam belts out, spumes thick and red, coughing sparks sharp as glass. His roar splits shriek, frays to whines thin as frost song flayed in fire. His limbs thrash, flail wide, belching ropes fat as worms boiled in vats. The sickle spins, spits sparks, vanishes down cracks, yawning jaws, black and deep. He bellows once, raw, thick, thick, then bursts. Smoke, ash, threads, black blown thin as hair, whipped high in gusts bright and blind. The hymn dies, flat, cold, dead. You slump, sprawl. Ribs rasp ice in scrapes sharp and shrill. Nails hook scars slick as glass, clutching till pulp spits fans white as frost. Breath hacks gouts black and red, spattering shards in arcs dull as rust. The light swells still, blazing vaults and glares raw and shrill, peeling fog and curls limp and wan. Behind, silence yawns, wide, blind, thick as frost, yet low now, thin, slides a croon soft as breath through teeth cracked white. Warm, it hums faint in cracks deep and black, pulsing heat in threads slick and slow. You lurch, stagger, trudge glare blinding raw, and the waste rolls wide ahead, slabs white, sprawled blank as shrouds flung slack on stone. No road, no gate, no end, only light bleaching sky to bone. And under it, faint still, low, slick, purls a hymn sweet as marrow melt. Stay, the light floods wide now, white ribs scalding sky, spearing vaults in beams bright as blades. It washes the moor to glare raw and blind, peeling fog in strips thin as tallow shred. Wind shrills high, flaying sleet in whips sharp as wire, flinging shards that spit sparks on scars slick with frost. The waste sprawls endless, slabs bucked, cracked, veined in threads black as veins pulsing deep. Heat seeps slow from seams gaping wide. Steaming curls limp as breath wrung from lungs fat with ash. You sprawl on rime. Nails hook ice, claws rasping scrapes sharp as glass. Pulp drips ropes red and stiff. Freezing fans bright as rust. Breath hacks in gulps thick as mash. Slopping chin in gouts black and slick. Your ribs heave racks. Bones gnashing grit in jolts raw as frost-split wood. Thought crawls limp, slurred to sludge. Wit steeped in hums thin and low. Silence yawns. Wide, blind, slung slack across vaults white and raw. No hymn, no croon, no boots belting doom in beats fat and slow. Only wind, thin, keen, whining sharp through shards pitched high. It skirls frost song shrilled on wire, a tune cracked fine as glass whipped by sleet. It saws your skull till sparks spit black, till blood rings bells deep in bone. Yet under it hums still, faint, low, sliding soft through seams fat with steam. Warm, it slinks like grease down nerve and vein, slick with heat sweet as marrow drip. It throbs bone deep, purring soft in threads, thin as frost lace, laced with fire. You clamp ears till nails spit sparks, but it worms still, croons slow as loam swallowing bells. Stay, stay warm. You lurch up. Knees crack, boots rasp shards, heels skidding slick on scars veined black. The gale belts raw, whipping rags stiff as planks, flaying flesh in flails sharp as sleet. Blood ropes freeze on cheeks split white, stiff as threads of wire strung in frost. The light slants hard, shafts bright and blind, lancing gray in ribs sharp as tusks. It burns vaults wide, yet its blaze wavers now, threads fraying thin, beams cracked fine as hair. Fog creeps back in curls black and fat, belching breath rank as broth boiled down to scum. You slog through glare slick as glass, boots drumming plates split to shards. Cracks gape wide, gulping sleet in slaps dull and slow. Steam coughs up in gusts limp and wan, lapping shins in licks rank and wet. Your lungs rasp soot, breath bursting ropes black and raw. Nails clutch rime, peeling shards sharp as slates, scraping sparks that spit and die like stars drowned in grime. The waste sprawls blind, slabs flung flat, strewn slack as shrouds in vaults white and dead. No road, no gate, no spire stabbing sky's gray gut. Only light bleaching bone, boiling fog to froth thin and faint. The gale belts hymns through teeth iced hard, piping tunes thin as reeds soaked in rime. And under it hums still. Near now, close. Croon fat with heat, syrup sweet, sliding soft through cracks black and blind. No frost where I keep you, no dark in my fire. You stagger, spit bile thick as tar, ropes slopping shards that hiss on glare. Your ribs grind racks, spine gnaws cord like rats in frost. Yet you lurch, step, drag, slog plates cracked raw, because the croon fattens now, blooming low, thick as smoke wrung from vats. Come home, sleep soft, stay. Shadows creep back in fans gray and wet, slopping steam on scars, slick as grease. They writhe thin at first, threads curled slack, then swell, bulge, belly fat with fog. Shapes slink through, long, lean, hides wrung raw, jaws yawning wide to dribble ropes black and rank. Their nails screech shards and shrills cracked fine, sparks spitting white on scars split deep. Their croons slop sugar slick, dripping heat through gale-whipped blind. Stay warm. Stay warm. You bolt. Boots slam rime. Plates shriek seams. Shards spit sparks bright as lie. The gale belts knives white and wet, flaying skin in wheels raw as flesh. Blood ropes freeze stiff as wire, lacing rags in threads red as rust. Breath bursts fire, lungs belching smoke thick as mash. Thought phrase, splits, slops, to broth black and blind. Behind, moans roll low, throbs fat as drums belted deep. The croon swells, fat and raw, gorged on dark, gulped from cracks. It booms vaults wide, booming raw through beams, shrilled thin. No frost in fire. No frost. No end. Light slants weak now. Shafts cracked fine. Splintered pale as glass. Shadows bloom fat. Belching steam rank as rot steeped long. They lap plates in tongues slick and black, smearing rhyme in strokes thick as grease. Shapes lurch, lope, crawl, their hums thick as marrow melt. And through them heaves the host, not whole, not clean, but hulking still. Coat sloughed in slabs black and red, jaws yawning slack, grin cracked wide in arcs raw as wounds. His eyes glare dim, dull globes glazed white, froth drooling ropes thick as mash. The sickle hums high, arcs thin in winds, sharp as frost, song split on steel. It winks pale, edge bent, blunt, yet dripping ropes black and steaming fat. His croon slops near, slick, sweet, syrup thick. No cold where I keep you, only warm. You scream, but no sound. Only wind shrilling thin as wire. Only boots drumming plates cracked to shards. Only light fraying white to threads limp and wan. And the waste yawns wide ahead, blind, raw, blank as bone picked clean. Behind, the hymn fattens. Shapes bloom. The sickle hums. The cold dies. The dark swells. The fire waits. And the croon slides close. Soft, low, thick as marrow drip. Stay,